regular season over. Oregon undefeated, 12-0 in their first outing with the Big Ten Conference play. A special season.
This is a Big Ten Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
Dirt and Sprague on the Odyssey app and 1080.
Season's not over yet.
The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader 1080. The Fan. Good morning. Happy Thursday, everybody.
What is happening?
This little Thursday morning.
This is a nice little Thursday morning. Inching closer to vacation, man. It's almost the holidays. It's sneaking up on me. Already December 5th. Month's going way too quick.
I'm enjoying the extremely cold but sunny days we've been having
God, it's
for
been
like over a week.
Delightful, isn't it?
Perfect.
A little windy, a little goosey out there.
I can deal with that.
We lost power yesterday for about 2 minutes, and I had a panic mode because it was late at night, and so there wasn't not a single light in the house. Couldn't see anything. Teddy Ballgame was in his little, he's got one of those wheelie things that he runs around in.
Where his little feetsies
Yeah, his
move
little
it.
feetsies move it. He loves that thing.
Those are good for them.
He cruises around the entire house,
Oh, yeah.
and then the lights just went, and I'm like, uh-oh, where is he? Cell phone light, where Teddy? Teddy! And then thankfully it came back on. It was a brief panic mode last night.
Anybody alive?
Anybody there?
One of my all-time favorite lines that I'll say and nobody gets. You ever just quote a movie, nobody ever gets it? That's me. I always do that. I do the Titanic guy in the boat. Anybody alive out there? Nobody knows what that's from. They're like, what are you talking about?
Nobody gets that
Searching
one.
for Kate Winslet on the door. She should have let Leo stay up there with him. Come on.
I love we've done this, people do this with The Office where they revisit it and they're like, Pam was actually a pretty big villain.
Everybody says that.
Everybody does this.
Everybody
I
says
love
that.
when I randomly stumble across one of those threads like, name me a movie villain that doesn't get the credit for being a movie villain, and Rose is the movie villain.
Ooh.
For letting him die. I mean, there was room on the door. What are we doing? And then two, she finds a family, has a husband. She struggles. Husband works for 80 years. She's got this diamond necklace at the end of the movie that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
The heart of the ocean.
And she just throws it into the ocean at the end of the movie.
So a couple things on that.
What are we doing?
One, there's actually a deleted scene they took out of the movie that if you go and search it, it is her in that scene throwing it, but it's Bill Paxton's character and one of the other people on the boat. Watch her do it.
Yeah, they caught her doing it.
And
yeah.
they're like, no! And she just turns around this old bag. She's like, and first of all, I'm like, you wouldn't react that way. You just showed us you have the technology to go down the Titanic. You just go down there and grab that thing.
Jump in the submarine immediately. Go find that thing now.
The underrated part of that, what you say is also she's retelling the story of the Titanic when she's like an 80, 90-year-old woman, right?
Yes.
How does her daughter feel? Because she had a daughter with another random guy that we never know.
Never meet him. In
the
the
whole
a
movie.
random guy
story.
like a husband, like a lifelong partner here.
Yeah.
And the story's basically, the love of my life died when I was 20, and all of this has been whatever. I'm going to die and go down to the boat now, and I'm going to be in Leo's arms in my afterlife. Never mind my husband who gave me everything, including these children.
Yes.
It's an underrated villain.
I care about some dirty old dude that I met on this boat 70 years ago
For
more than
like
your
4
father.
days. She had
No
sex
kidding.
with him one time.
He drew me like a French girl. We had sex in a car.
Yeah, people
doing?
paid him a dime to do that. It wasn't that great.
What are we doing, man? Come on.
Really made those breasts pop, though,
They
didn't
did. They
Well, but one.
absolutely did.
That's how they did it PG-13, if you notice. The in person, it was only 1. She never showed 2. It's just
If
1.
you show 2, that's the difference in the rating.
Well, see,
Between
the MP,
PG and R, that's the difference.
the
13-year-olds can
MPAA
look at
One
has,
boob or 2 boobs.
they've got some, it's not like this like hard line between PG-13 and R. They kind of make decisions based on every movie that they'll watch. But I think for that one, they said 1 is okay, 2 is sexual. We ain't doing this.
Yeah,
but kids could see it because it was 1.
I would have guessed that movie was rated R, to be honest with you.
PG-13.
no
You don't
way.
think so?
It's not very graphic.
There's boobs. There's people dying at
There's
the end.
one
People
boob.
falling off the top of the boat when it goes down.
But
just
Jurassic
getting
Park
impaled.
is PG-13, and there's a lawyer quite literally gets eaten off a toilet.
That's ridiculous. It should be rated R. What are we doing?
Really?
Protect the kids. Come on.
You're that guy.
Kids can't see this stuff.
Kate Winslet was just on 60 Minutes, as I sound so old saying that out loud.
That is one of the oldest things you've ever said on the show.
She seems like one of the better Hollywood people we should be supporting.
Yes.
Just like down to earth. Who cares that I'm a celebrity? This is stupid. I just do movies. I have fun with it.
I act.
She saw one of the violinists from the movie when the boat's going down, like, it's been a pleasure, gentlemen, and it's just playing.
I love that GIF. I love using that one. Whenever something's going bad, just the guys, it's been an honor going down.
One of those guys is a real violinist. And in the 60 Minutes piece, she recognizes him in a crowd of violinists because they're working on some musical project. And she runs up to him and like hugs. She knew his name.
Remembered everything about him.
Remembered everything about him.
That's pretty badass.
It's like those are the celebrities we should be giving attention to.
Yes.
When we give them attention, instead of like, we are the world.
Or Hawk Tua having a Bitcoin. Is that
a meme coin?
A meme coin. I don't even know what that means. There's another old thing for me. Her Mayor of Easttown show a couple of years ago, really good.
Is it good?
On HBO. That was a really good.
I haven't seen it.
It's one-off, one season. It's kind of like a different, not quite True Detective, but it's a detective show where she's the sheriff. They're trying to solve a murder and that kind of thing. That was a really good show.
I had a delightful little Wednesday yesterday, and I think I've come to the conclusion. I was gallivanting around the city.
Yeah.
I think I've come to the conclusion. Have you ever prepared for where you're going to live, but you're not going to live there for at least 20 years?
You're planning ahead, retirement, Sprague?
Kind of retirement, Sprague, like back in maybe of career if I don't get fired at some point.
Yeah, we're still employed.
Still employed, but we're like the old fuddy-duddies.
Sure.
Doing this. I think I've concluded of where I'm going to live in Portland if I never move.
Where are we going?
Ooh.
I think I'm going to live like near Franklin High School.
You want to be up by Powell?
Really?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
I really love that area. I love the old-timey feel of the houses. I think the neighborhoods are really cool. I like being close to downtown, but like still in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's kind of my
decent
dream spot.
restaurants that are
really
in that
cool
area.
Spots. There's so many cool little coffee shops and restaurants and little businesses.
Yeah, if you go down that area of like Division is really nice too.
That's where I was.
Yeah, Division used to be when I grew up in Southeast Portland. It was not not much to go on Division.
Yeah,
and now that there's a cutoff. Like the further up you go on the street numbers, eventually you hit a point where you're like, I don't know if I want to live on this part of Division. But when you're south of those numbers, a lot of cool stuff going on.
100%.
Really cool things. We missed something yesterday.
Did we?
We did, yeah.
What did we miss yesterday?
Big breaking news yesterday.
Oh.
Big time breaking news.
We had a show with breaking news.
We had a show with breaking
news.
news. We didn't even talk about it on the air.
Okay.
That's how distracted we got on the air. It was your birthday yesterday. Hey!
Oh, happy birthday. Sprague.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Chicks dig it. Chicks are digging it.
My wife was great yesterday. I don't know what to do for birthdays. I'm really bad at that. Gift giving and like planning for birthdays.
Yeah.
What do you do? I don't often like know what to do. My wife just kind of like spearheaded everything.
Just took the day off work.
Yeah.
Took you out to dinner, it sounds like.
Or
lunch or something.
We went and got pie.
Oh.
I love pie. I'm a pie over cake guy.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Not that pie. That was later. Right in the butt. Went to a pie place over in the area I speak of and got like 9 slices of pie.
Just cowed out on some pie.
Happy birthday to Sprague. It's a whole pie.
9 different pieces of pie or one pie?
No, like 9 different slices.
Different slices.
Well, if you go into a pie joint,
Taste them all.
Yeah.
You catch them all, man.
And then I kept them and we saved them for the kiddos later after school. Went and got some books. Went to a bookstore in
Look at
downtown.
you.
Trendy little bookstore.
You are so old.
I am so old.
Pie
I did.
and
You are so old. You ate pie. You went out for an afternoon pie into a bookstore.
Yeah, you
kind
need
of
to
an
go to the
AM
closed
pie.
Sherry's here.
I'm guessing that there was a coffee involved. Did you get a coffee at something? You got to go to a coffee place.
I went to the most Portland coffee shop you've ever seen in your life. There was an old window hanging inside as like a divider wall, but it was an old window that, could be restored but wasn't because it's cool and trendy.
Lady have green hair and gauges. That
Oh
gave you the
yeah.
coffee.
Oh, there was a nose ring, like a bowl
The big
type
bowl
nose
one,
ring.
yeah.
We're in Southeast Portland, baby.
Oh, it's great.
Let's go, Portlandia.
Had an old lady who had a knitted wool cap on, and I'm just like, look at all this Patagonia gear. Oh, we're in Portland.
Yeah, I felt bad. I don't know how you are, Schulte, with birthdays. I don't know anybody's birthday. Like, I know generally the area of I know your birthday's in December.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you the day to save my life. And I didn't know until after the show. Russ comes walking in, and he's like, we're done with the show. We're like, hey, what are we going to do tomorrow? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Russ walks in the door. Hey, happy birthday, Sprague. It's like, what? It's your birthday? I had no clue.
I guess that was the one advantage of Facebook. I think I'm like you
Yes.
guys, where unless it's my best friend, and honestly, for about a decade and a half, my best friend's birthday is like 9 days after mine, and I couldn't ever remember the exact date.
You just know it's in the ballpark
Now,
of
did your
when
best
your
friend
birthday
remember
is.
yours?
Huh?
Does your best friend remember yours?
He does. He's been very good at it over the years, and I
Then you feel guilty about it.
yeah, it's like, all right, I
feels
gotta
bad.
step my effing game up. But I remember my wife's, my direct families, but outside of that, Facebook back in the day really helped with that. It was like, oh hey, it's so and so's birthday. So then I
Yes.
go to text them and like, oh thank you.
Now, I don't think it was funny when Russ said that because I didn't know how Russ had said. How did Russ know? And then he reminded me Facebook, and I'm like, oh god, that's right.
Ah,
Yeah,
good
I'm
old
not on Facebook anymore, so I don't know when anybody's birthday is.
Yeah.
But it was funny.
Just in a while.
I don't really have much of an expectation for anybody to know my birthday, and it doesn't even bother me if you don't know it. It's just funny to do a show with somebody for this long.
no clue.
And he's still like caught off
No
guard
clue.
as if he just met me.
Hey,
Oh, it's your birthday.
It's your birthday today. Today's your birthday. Dude, I got a group chat with buddies who I've been friends with for 20 years. And every time it's somebody's birthday in the chat, I'm always the last one to chime in. So somebody else will remember it's their
You're
birthday.
waiting for somebody to indicate
Yes.
it's the birthday. So you can, oh yeah, happy
and then you get
birthday.
6 happy birthday texts, and then you jump in. You're like, "Hey, happy birthday, buddy! Hey,
Right.
happy birthday!" I'm never the one that spearheads the happy birthday to everybody.
You're like
else.
the two wise men with like the frankincense and myrrh that went with the other one that brought gold to see Jesus. You're like, I'm here too.
Here you go. There you
Throw
go.
'em together.
Here's some gold.
Now, your birthday is interesting because I'm usually not very good at memorizing birthdays either. Yours is in my brain because for some reason, when I started doing radio on the Fan, I did it with him and I did it with another guy that we used to work with named Taylor Danforth. And I don't know how, one, we even came to do a show together. It's just kind of weird and cosmic in some ways.
Yeah, random happenstance.
But also, here's the weird part. His birthday, Dirt's birthday, is a day after my mom's.
Yeah.
And then Danforth's birthday is a day after my little brother's.
Huh.
So my mom and my little brother, the 19th and the 23rd.
So you could remember those, and you know it's the day after that.
Somehow,
It's
like,
natural.
you guys just happen to be aligned with those birthdays, so they kind of connect in my brain in that way. That's the only way I know your birthday.
Yes, you have to have some sort of connection like that, or
Yes.
it's the same birthday, or
Right.
it's like all I can tell you is I know my parents' birthday, I know my brother's birthday, I know my wife's birthday,
And you know Teddy's.
and Teddy's. That's
Do you know
it.
anybody else?
That's all I got.
You don't have one relative or
Nieces and nephews.
friend?
I know the ballpark.
You know the month.
I know the month. I think mostly.
I think I know my nieces and my nephew.
But
Well,
I couldn't tell you the date to save my life.
I have nieces and nephews in Tacoma that I hate to say this out loud. I don't really have much relationships with. I can tell you ballpark.
Yeah,
The
It's like
ones
a
down
run.
here I know I can tell you.
you could tell you right off the top of your head.
Well, I have a niece and a nephew, and they're on the same day. They're just different months. Like
Oh.
it's the 27th, but in different months.
That makes it easier to remember.
Way easier to remember.
Yeah, mine is looming because the national championship is on my birthday this year.
Dirt
So-
has a Oregon national championship
That's
game
going on.
looming on his
Boom.
birthday.
And it's not my birthday's inauguration day. It's
And
always
then
been
Trump's
inauguration
going to
day.
be back in office. So it's going to be an interesting little day for Andy Dirt Johnson on the 20th of
It's going to be a day. I might be in Atlanta. I might not. Maybe my heart breaks before that, but I hope to not have my heart broken on my birthday.
So yeah, thank you to my wife yesterday. She threw a delightful little birthday. It was a great, fun day for me.
What are we,
And
37 now? What
we're
do we go?
38.
38.
We're
Wow, you're
38.
old. You got old balls over there.
They're getting lower and lower.
Dragging down to your knees at this point. Holy hell,
They
man.
touched the
balls.
toilet water yet, sir?
Long ball Sprague,
Long ball
man.
Sprague.
You're dipping them in the water. It's like a bidet.
I had an encounter for the first time in my life with a legitimate, and I'm not exaggerating for radio, a legitimate Jerry Seinfeld low talker.
Hi, how are you?
Walking from the bookstore. We're walking back to our car. We're leaving. I had a guy from one local organization. Hey, we're with so and so, and I said, "Oh yeah, I support that," and wearing a vest.
Yeah.
Talking normal. I'm like, okay, I'll listen to the spiel. Like, okay, I'm in a good mood. And I'm not kidding. He goes, oh, we're with this local place. And I was like, okay, well, what do you want to say? And he goes, and my wife and me are maybe a foot away from this guy, and we cannot hear him.
Are you just nodding your head yes as he's talking?
And then
You're
he
doing
kind of
that?
stops. I ask a follow-up, and I swear to God, it got lower. It was like,
Oh,
And I'm watching my wife in my side view. She's leaning in to hear him. No idea what he said. And I said, we support the movement. It was like abortion protection.
Yeah.
We support it. I'll look into it. See you later.
Yeah, okay, I'm on it. I'll go research.
I'd never experienced that in my life. The lowest talker I've ever met.
You might want to speak up a little bit if you're trying to get public support for a cause.
Just
a hair.
Just a smidge.
I love that feeling, though, when you can't hear a word the other person's saying and you just, yeah, okay. Just kind of nod your head. You're like, I really hope I didn't say yes to something bad there. I really hope I didn't. Oh, you're going to volunteer for the next month every day? Sounds good. Here's your badge number, and we'll see you. We're going to go door to door.
Oh, it's yeah, that was an experience, but it was nice. It was a great day. It's good to be 38 years
Happy
young.
birthday, Sprague.
Thank you.
Day late. Happy
man.
birthday.
Another year around the sun.
Another year.
Here we go.
Another year, another dollar.
Another day to make well, we won't get into that. We have a loaded show today. Mike Jorgenson's going to join us at 7 a.m. We've got an early ticker today.
Early ticker, yeah. He said, I got a meeting at 7:30 to 8:30. Can I go earlier? I said, you got it, Jorgie. You go whatever you want, buddy.
Hey, Jorgie and his shorts are welcome on this show anytime. So we'll talk Big Ten title game with Jorgensen. We've got recruiting takeaways. Dan Lanning ended up flipping some guys, so we'll talk a little bit about that. We got some NFL to dabble into, college football hot stove stuff, and the dirty poll is today. But we start with a little bit of a hodgepodge of this sport. I'll tell you which one it is next. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
I'd like to thank Dirt, getting ready to talk about some fun stuff, and right as the segment's about to start, he goes, "Hey, did you see that CEO of that health insurance company get shot in the head?"
Wild stuff.
No, I didn't actively try to seek that.
I didn't either, but it just kind of showed up on my Twitter feed. I actually saw the surveillance video. It was like, why is this being shown to me?
I am on
bananas.
If I'm on a social media thing right now, it's largely either Instagram or Blue Sky. So like I legitimately have not been on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've missed probably a lot more of what's going on in the world because I don't have my timeline on Blue Sky is not. I'm not seeing this.
You're
stuff
unplugged
anymore.
on that stuff.
I don't want to see that. That's
no,
terrible.
I mean, it's not a great video to watch.
Yeah,
Guy got shot in the back of the head.
But I love that it's just like getting thrown onto people's timelines. Like I don't follow this person. Why is this playing?
I think the guy then took one of those city bikes, like the city.
Oh, the ones you rent.
Oh, the
rent.
little-
He
they ride
escaped on
bikes.
one of those
Way?
down an alley. Yeah, I haven't found him. Some gal was standing there drinking a cup of coffee, like just minding her. I think it was a gal minding her business,
Happy
It was an
Wednesday.
obvious hit.
and
on
then
the-
just
yeah.
she like realizes what's happening and just runs away.
The commentary, I've seen a lot of the reaction to the commentary. People reacting, say, "Well, I wouldn't condone this, but let's talk about how awful they are."
We're
It's
doing
like,
one of those.
jeez.
Okay.
Well, yeah, he was facing federal charges for some money-related things about some accounts.
Shocking.
Yeah,
Health
Care
insurance
industry
scamming
shady.
people.
No,
What?
no,
way.
couldn't be.
They did it again yesterday. Your Oregon Ducks down again to a team, and don't worry, second half, Jackson Shellstad will score 21 points, and they'll outscore the Trojans by 15.
That first half felt exactly like the UP first half.
It really
they
did.
They no-showed. They didn't care. They looked disinterested. I don't know much about USC. I just don't feel like USC's very good this year.
They were 5-3 going into that.
Kind of questioning why are we down by 7 at USC to not a very good team. They don't even have Bronny James anymore. How are we losing this game by 7? And then the second half happens, and they outscored them by 15, and they won the game comfortably by 8. I don't know if we're ever going to lose a game again, man. 45. How many games you play in college basketball? 35? 35-0. Here we go.
I mean, at this point, I'm just kind of inclined to believe that you guys will always be trailing, and then eventually the other team just won't make a shot, and you'll outscore them by 20.
It's one of those moments watching them that I'm just bummed we don't have access to gamble on college athletics for DraftKings in Oregon.
Oh, I
because
know.
just the theme of
Live
their
betting.
year, live betting them every time they're trailing, I would have made a lot of money so far this year.
How did the Big Ten go for Oregon football, you might be asking? Well, they went undefeated, and none of the powers that be have beaten them. We'll see what Penn State does in the Big Ten conference game. How's it going in basketball? Well, they're number 1 and they're undefeated, so it's already off to a rip-roaring start for the Big Ten with Oregon.
I don't know if we can handle it, though. I don't know. All that travel. I don't know if we can handle the line of scrimmage play on the basketball court. I don't know if we're going to be able to overcome that. We don't have the size and the strength to be able to hang with Big Ten teams.
I did enjoy, too, last night, seeing the Lakers lose by 36.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, what happened there? I thought J.J. Redick was the darling of the NBA for the first week, and they were using motion, and they were moving the ball. And look at this. It's a functional offense. Then I saw a graphic yesterday that, like, who was their coach last year?
Darvin Ham.
Darvin Ham. They were like 12-9 through their first 21 games, and this year they were 12-9 through the first 21 games.
Did you see Anthony Davis on the bench at the end of the game? He was like 2 of 14, I want to say, in the game. He had one of his worst games of his career.
Sounds like Anthony Davis.
LeBron is talking to him, and legitimately, he looks like he's trying not to cry. You want to go on Twitter, go seek out this video. LeBron is saying something to him. He's got a towel over his head, and you can only see his eyes, his nose, and his mouth, and legitimately his eyes look like they're watering, like he's like trying not to cry.
What are we doing?
That is
here?
the funniest. That and the Sixers are the funniest story in the NBA right now, is watching them just absolutely crater those two franchises.
Well, it's interesting because you brought this up the other day about how you're not as engaged and locked into the NBA season as
I have been in the past.
as you normally have been in the past. And I think that's a natural thing. And we all go through those ebbs and flows of storylines or teams or your team or whatever, right? That's going to pull you in as a fan. I feel like one of the themes that I'm seeing now, I'm not an avid day in and day out NBA watcher. I'm a headline guy, I'm a broad strokes guy when it comes to basketball. I feel like one of the themes that I've seen, this happened with Denver a couple of weeks ago. They were in LA and they just got obliterated in a game. Yeah. And Jamal Murray in the aftermath was like, dude, we got guys who are from LA. They live in LA. We all went out and had a good time last night. Not an excuse, but that's why we lost this game by 40. I saw the JJ Redick comments after the game of like, there was no intent. There was no purpose. There was no effort. We looked like we were going through the motions. It feels like that is becoming, not that it hasn't been a problem in the past for the league, of just the care level on any given night.
It just wanes.
And what you're like, some nights it's good and it's, hey, this is a good matchup and we're going to give you your all. And then some nights we're playing who and we're not going to show up. And it's like, as a fan, why am I investing my time in that if you're making $50 million and you don't even care about this game?
Yeah.
It's a really hard sell to the fans.
Well, Wemby's going to be here next Friday. And my brother-in-law and I have talked about wanting to go see Wemby. And so, paying a decent dollar to go see Wemby is something that I'm kind of interested in. It's not even so much a Blazer thing. Go seeing Shaden and hopefully Scoot.
Yeah, hopefully he's back.
All those guys, that'd be great. But we're going to wait till next Thursday because tickets are just kind of up in the air. I don't know how Wemby is as a draw. Is he one of those players in the league that if he comes to your town, are you kind of like, I want to see this guy. He's an alien. It doesn't make any sense. Or is he a good player, a great player who's young, and you kind of say, I don't want to spend that kind of money on an NBA game in the regular season.
Yeah, I guess I would want to know what the comparison is between like an Anthony Edwards.
Like, who is the best draw to you? Like, you're not a big NBA guy in general, right? And I heard a podcast that Bill Simmons did with a tech guy months ago, and I may have shared this on the show. The guy made a great point. He said, I think people follow the NBA through podcasts and social media.
Yes.
I don't think people actually tune in to watch the games day in, day out. And you can actually still follow the league. Like, Dirt, I could give you 5 minutes and say, talk about the NBA.
Yeah, I could do it.
And you could admittedly say, I don't watch the games, and you could probably kind of sum up what's been happening so far.
I saw a tweet the other day that LaMelo Ball's averaging 31 points per game.
He got hurt again.
Oh, he did again? Yeah. Again? Was it speeding out of the locker room? Was that how he got hurt? No, okay.
No, he didn't hit a little kid's foot with his car.
Didn't run a fan over this time.
Train.
But wasn't driving around on his roof on his go-kart or
no.
But who is somebody that gets you to contemplate from a text from a buddy or a family member that says, Dirt,
hey, let's go to the game.
Let's go to a game. You're not working tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about the time stuff, and your wife's cool with it.
Yeah.
Who is a player or who is the player that gets you to spend a little more on a bad Blazer game than you'd want to admit?
This actually is probably not a great sign for the NBA because my answer would likely still be the old guard. And I know
a Steph, a LeBron, a KD,
or KD. I think
that's also out now.
Who's out
Dame,
now too? I know.
Got hurt.
Dame comeback game, but that's a little bit different. I'll take that out from the local rooting interest angle because that definitely would be the biggest one.
Because that's Giannis as well.
You get Giannis as well in that mix. Like I love a lot of the other young players. Anthony Edwards is awesome, but am I going to spend over the top to go see Anthony Edwards live in person? I don't know. I don't know if
he's going to be 1 from 10 from 3.
No, it just sometimes it's not an entertaining brand of basketball. Not that LeBron is playing an entertaining brand of basketball this year, but at least there's the checking the box. I've seen LeBron in person a couple times. I don't know if I've ever seen KD, and I have seen Steph. But
I've luckily seen all of them.
It's like a box that you check of like that's one of the greatest of all time, and I want to go see him. And I don't know if one of the other young waves has captivated me to that point.
Luka
would be fun. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to go see him, but if it's a 25% increase on what the tickets normally cost, am I willing to go that far for Luka?
Tatum Brown?
No.
Celtics don't do that?
I've been to a Celtics game. It's not fun. It's too many Celtics fans there. Really? Turns into like a home game.
Isn't
a lot
that
of
what
green.
A Curry game is like here?
Yeah,
I've been to those.
That's fair. Laker games are that way as well.
Yeah, they are.
The Celtics are just like, what are we
Celtics
doing?
game's fun in Boston. I mean,
in Boston, yeah.
Arena's much better than Moda.
Peyton Pritchard would be my answer.
Brunson?
Right. Peyton Pritchard. Dylan Brooks.
Pritchard's actually the leading. It's early, but he's in Vegas right now. He's the leading
for six man
of the year.
Let's go, Peyton Pritchard.
He's having a great year.
Yeah, to your original question, I don't know where Wemby falls in that list. He would be relatively high for me though. Like of the next wave of young players,
I just want to see it in person. I've seen it a lot on TV. I just want to see it operate in person.
That's one that I feel like you want to be close to the floor too, to like
we're
get
looking at tickets.
Real sense of holy crap, he's big.
$60 for the lower bowl right now.
Yeah, no, it's
for the
cheap.
Spurs game next week.
Not bad.
It's cheap.
That's
the
not a bad
Spurs
deal.
aren't very good, but
no.
We saw 2 tickets yesterday that were $370, but it's front row right behind the bench.
Oh,
and
let's go.
And you get a parking pass.
And you get courtside service, so if you want a beer, it's brought to you, albeit slowly.
That's so much money.
That is a lot of money for one night.
And that's
the other fear too is
what experience just isn't good at Moda.
It's not?
courtside experience is not good at Moda?
No, because
done it?
so when you go to Crypto.com, when you go to other
No.
stadiums and
Never
their
sat courtside.
courtside experience, you get immediate service. There's multiple bar options that are separate from the one above, on the upper
There's
bowl.
an exclusive one.
And in Portland at the Moda, it's literally one restaurant and there's like a concession down there. Now, it's been 3 years since I've been to courtside, but it looked like they hadn't updated anything and given any people more options than they had.
Well,
like you had to go up to the 100 bowl.
If you didn't want to eat at that one
and it's
restaurant
like,
down there. Yeah.
Where are my VIP options? Where's my service?
To be fair, though, too, this isn't a courtside seat. This is the row behind the visitor bench. So I get to sit behind Wemby.
What if he sits in front of you? Then you won't be able to see any of the game.
Touche.
It's going to be he's towering over you,
I
man.
told my brother-in-law, I'm like, are we going to be the guys that talk trash and are seeing like Wemby hits a 3 and he points at us and we're the guys like, oh, no.
You're sitting behind him the whole game. Hey, Wemby, you're a bitch.
Say that in French.
Go back to France. Where's your baguette?
Hey,
Huh?
you're what we call laissez compétent. It's like all the French I know. It's like Home Alone references from the 90s.
That is such a good poll. The other tough part that you have, and this kind of highlights the problem of the league, though, I don't know. They sometimes don't play him on back-to-backs, right? Aren't they a little cautious with him?
Well, so here's the thing. You're right, but here's the other part of this. He doesn't come back to Portland till like the 6th to last game of the year.
So this is kind of it.
So this might be it of like him playing, and I don't even know if he's guaranteed. That's the other part of that league. They can't guarantee who's going to play and not play. It's like, what if I spend $300 and he's walking out in a French suit? I don't want to see that. I don't want to watch the Spurs without Wemby.
He should be in the lineup. So they play on Sunday the 8th at home against New Orleans. And then I'm assuming that next week is the Cup. I'm assuming because they don't play again until Friday.
Right.
So they're off for the whole week. So Wemby
he should play.
That's their first game after the Cup break, which I love that now everybody just gets a week off in the season while the Cup teams play. It's just
The whole thing's
It's
weird.
a whole thing's weird.
Whole thing's weird.
Hey, go Ducks, though, huh?
Hey, Duke won last night, too.
Duke did win. I saw Danny Hurley was losing his mind again, like headbutting a player on the sideline again last night.
I've swapped sides. I hate that guy.
I know. I think I flip-flopped
But
on
I
him,
wouldn't
too.
want him as the coach.
I would take him in a heartbeat.
No, he wouldn't work. He wouldn't work.
He wouldn't work.
In the NBA or for the Ducks?
For
Because
the
people
NBA.
were talking about the Lakers
Ducks.
job. You really think LeBron's going to kowtow to that headbutting? LeBron's going to turn right the hell around and walk away.
What about Shaden Sharp?
I don't think Shaden talks very much now,
Yeah.
so probably wouldn't say much then either.
We also had the number 1 Jayhawks go down last night in
We
college
did.
hoops. Creighton knocked him off.
Yeah, we did.
Rushed the court.
Who's good in college? Just the Oregon? Just Oregon's the only good team?
Cooper Flag was pretty damn good last night. They knocked off Auburn. I watched a little bit of that game.
I watched a lot of that. They did that mostly without Knipple doing anything.
They did. No Knipple last night.
No nips. No nips out.
Didn't matter.
Let's get to the dirty poll. We'll do it next on The Fan.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Make your holidays extra merry with a 28-day dry-aged rib roast from the best neighborhood butcher shop in town. Online at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on The Fan, the Oregon Ducks celebrating a massive signing day for the recruiting class of 2025. It's highlighted by 5-star receivers DeCorian Moore and Dallas Wilson. Also 5-star defensive backs Trey McNutt and Naeem Offord, as well as flipping 4-star quarterback Jaron Kawe Saga Polutele. The Ducks snagging overall the 4th best recruiting class in college football. On the college hardwood, the 12th-ranked Ducks there handling USC on the road in a comeback effort, 68-60 the final. Jackson Shelstad, 24 points overall, 21 of those in the second half. Keyshawn Barthélemy adding 18 points and 4 threes off the bench. Keeps Oregon undefeated at 9-0. Week 14 of the NFL kicking off with an NFC showdown on Thursday Night Football between the Lions and Packers in Detroit. Green Bay, a 3-point underdog right now, kickoff at 5:15 on Amazon Prime. And elsewhere in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens suspending wideout Deontay Johnson for 1 game after he refused to enter the game during the loss to the Eagles on Sunday. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultze at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
It's The Fan on FM. Go to 99.5 FM HD2 and enjoy high def 1080 The Fan.
Sports.
So wide you can't get around it.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
All right, we're going to turn and burn here because I screwed us on the clock as usual. We got Mike Jorgenson coming up at 7. The Ducks with a big flip yesterday. This was one of them.
Jaron Sagapotule, well, whatever,
Which aged really well for me because I'm like, they don't need to put the bag on the quarterback. Flipped him.
I got two of them, Achilles Smith Jr. and that kid.
That one we knew. The other one was either Cal or Oregon. And then later on in the day, they flipped a 5-star DB from Alabama who everybody thought was a lock to go Ohio State. And then that kid basically had a quote of, Phil Knight's going to help me make a shoe.
You're damn right he is.
And the college football world collectively chuckled. And I don't think Oregon fan denies anything. And they go, yeah, well, this is the world we live in.
Make a shoe, man. I don't care. He'll design it for you. You get the Phil Knight Naeem Offord shoe. We'll do whatever it takes to get a recruit.
Can't wait for everybody to be wearing those on game day.
You know that they will. They made the ice cream cone T-shirts. Everybody bought those. That's how we do. We're a flock of one.
So I want to talk about all of that. Let's get to the dirty poll as we do every Thursday with the college football playoff rankings released going into conference championship. What is the final? This is going to be a prediction for the final one,
This is the final
right?
dirty poll we're doing for the year. It's been a brutal year. Dirty Poll's had a rough go. Now,
from the start.
I would like to point out, actually, we can have a fun game of that maybe early next week. We can go back and look at preseason Dirty Poll and laugh at all the, because I have that saved.
You had some good ones.
I had a couple of good ones. There are a few in there. I'm like, that was a great idea. But we'll go through it. It'll be kind of fun. I like doing it at the end of the year. I picked a horrible year to change the format of the Dirty Poll, where I'm trying to predict what it will be at the end of the year instead of just ranking my top 10 teams every single week. Much easier to do that. Trying to predict what it's going to look like at the end of the year in a year where there's been nothing but chaos and teams losing games they shouldn't. Bad idea on my part, but what the hell. Let's go down swinging one last time, okay? We're swinging for the fences. I'm Bryce Betcher right now. Okay. We'll see how it goes. Number 1 seed will remain. I think Oregon's going to win the Big Ten championship. I think it's a close game. I like the matchup for them. Favored by 3.5. Won't be a blowout. 1-score game probably. I'll take Dylan Gabriel, quarterback advantage. Give me Oregon number 1. I think Georgia's going to back up their win in the SEC title game. Wow. I know they didn't look great against Georgia Tech. Texas has also had a lot of games where they've been clunky offensively. There will be more arch. That wouldn't surprise me. But I like the matchup for Georgia's defense against that Texas offense. Low scoring. I think Georgia finds a way to win the game. Number 3. Here we go. I don't know why everybody's just kind of giving it a foregone conclusion this team's not going to win. The point spread in the game is only 2. And I hate to do it to my guy because I love Kenny Dillingham. I'm taking Iowa State. I think they have the head coaching advantage. Matt Campbell's been in games like this before.
They're going to jump to the 3 seed?
Who else is going to be the 3 seed? Wait.
Okay.
Wait.
All right. Okay,
wait.
right.
It's format. I got to do the format.
I need you to not give me a game analysis by every team in your ranking.
Sorry, you want me to just go through it and then go back through? Okay, all right. I'll go all the way through and then we'll come revisit, okay? Number 3 will be Iowa State, Big 12 champ, when they beat Arizona State this weekend. Number 4 will be the Clemson Tigers when they beat SMU this weekend.
I know what he's doing.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
I know who 12 is going to be.
That's your top 4. Number 5 will be Texas. 2 losses to Georgia. I think they get the number 1 outside of the bye rankings.
Okay.
Number 6 will be Penn State. 2 close losses to Ohio State and Oregon. Not going to punish them for that. I think both of them should be ranked ahead of Notre Dame because they would have lost a game that Notre Dame would not have had to play this weekend. Notre Dame comes in at number 7. Then you get into the 2 lost teams, outside of conference championship games, that is. Ohio State, number 8. Hosting Tennessee, number 9.
Who
also
did you
at
say
10
was
and 2.
7?
Notre Dame, 7. Sorry. Notre Dame, 7. Ohio State, 8. Tennessee, 9. 10's going to be Indiana, hanging out there at 11-1. They hung 66 on Purdue this past weekend in the snow. That was kind of a fun game. Number 11, and I'll die on this hill. I'm going to look like the Sprague idiot from last year with Florida State. I don't think they're going to punish the team for losing a conference championship game. I think SMU gets number 11. And number 12.
I love that you have SMU over Bama.
Will be the UNLV running Rebels.
Oh,
that is your dirty poll.
You got the Friday upset.
So I think I got UNLV beating Boise on Friday.
Yes, you do.
I think Clemson's going to win the ACC title game this weekend. And I think Iowa State. This is funny. These aren't even big up. The point spread in the ACC title game and the Big 12 title game is less than a field goal.
Well, I don't think people would view those as big upsets. We are concluding with Arizona State Boise that they're going to win in a way of like, hey, this is who is in because we just saw the rankings with an image.
Yes.
I don't think people would, following the weekend, come in Monday and go, guys, I can't believe UNLV and Clemson won. I
am shocked.
Or Iowa State, I should say.
I just haven't loved the way that Boise's been playing for basically a month
And
now.
it's squeaking by. JT's banged up. There's a recipe there. UNLV game was it was closer than the score indicates. I think they had a pick 6 at the end of that game.
Yeah, the final of that game was 29-24, the first time they played at UNLV.
Oh, maybe I'm
in
thinking
the regular
of the San
season.
Jose State game. There was a game in there where
the
Boise
San Jose
was,
State game was back and forth and tight, and then they
Yes.
had a defensive touchdown, and it ended up being on bad beats for SVP because I think San Jose State was like plus 14.5.
Okay.
And they threw a pick 6 late in that
So
game.
Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Iowa State 3, Clemson 4, winning the ACC. 5 is Texas. They would host UNLV.
First round matchups would suck, by the way, if this is what it is.
Yeah, Penn State would host SMU. Those are both double-digit favorites.
Yes.
Notre Dame would host Indiana. I think they'd be like a 5 to 6 point
The
favorite.
Battle of Indiana.
Yeah.
The only good one would be Tennessee, Ohio State, or interesting game going.
And I would take Tennessee.
I probably would too.
I know that's in Ohio State. I would take Tennessee on that
With the way their defense is playing and Ohio State's offensive line, I also just don't know what their mentality is going to be coming off the loss to Michigan.
We got Jorgensen at the top of the hour. I want to come back with some college football thoughts and some storylines that were released yesterday. We'll get to that coming up next. There's the Dirty Poll. We'll put it out on social media. Dirt and Sprague back with more on the Fan.
Oregon Ducks football is on the
Jorgenson at the top of the hour. Ducks in the Big Ten title game. I turned 38. Dirt's getting up in that age ladder as well, and Dirt utters the words before we come back from break. How are we not wearing the green and the yellow from the Rose Bowl for this weekend as the Ducks release their uniform of black and green?
Yeah, they're going the all blacks. The green helmets are sick. I'll give them that. I don't know if they've worn those this year. I have a dream.
Well, let's not get into that.
And my dream is that at one point my team wears school colors in a big game.
The Raiders won last weekend.
The Raiders dominated the Huskies.
Great game against the Huskies.
Dominated the Huskies. We wore our best uniforms of the year in week 4 against UCLA.
Oh, the road whites?
It was the yellow pants, the yellow helmet, the white with the green trim, the throwback look. They were gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just awe-inspiring. And we used them in week 4 for a 7:30 kick on a Saturday night at UCLA.
Hot take: I don't mind the yellow not being in there. I like the green. I like the black. I'm a huge fan of the Warp Speed Stormtrooper look. Like I've been looking on eBay trying to get like that white jersey with the color changing letters or numbers this year, and I'm probably about to pull the trigger on a jersey over sticker price. But I am loving the Ducks without the yellow.
I'm not anti-black uni. I'm not anti-white uni. I'm not. The gray and the silver can go for me.
It is weird.
I thought that was odd.
The helmets or whatever, they're kind of cool if you do them like once a year, but that whatever.
The chrome or
Are
whatever.
there any real Duck fans willing? Because you guys are doing this, and I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Is there any real Duck fans that just don't swallow all of this crap? And just are honest and like, can we just wear these two kick-ass colors?
We had big games the last 2 years where we dressed like an Oreo McFlurry. That happened.
Yeah,
so
like,
let's not do that again. That'd be great.
3 white guys screaming on the internet this morning.
It's not the.
To me, look, it's not the black jersey thing. The black jerseys are sick. I have no issue with them. It's just the big game thing. Yeah. Every time they play in a big game, they don't just wear green and yellow. And that's frustrating. Like, you want to wear these black jerseys on a Friday night against Michigan State? By all means, dude, blackout. It's great. Let's do it. But like Ohio State, Big Ten championship game, when they get to the playoff, they're wearing their all silvers. They look like a bullet out there. Come on. Give me green and yellow.
Probably means Penn State's rocking the all-white look then if Oregon's going black and green.
I don't think they have anything other than all white on the road. I think they only have
Penn
white.
State's pretty traditional.
Yeah, they only have white pants and then they have a blue or a white jersey, and that's it.
We'll get to Jorgensen at the top of the hour. I quite enjoyed 2 headlines in college football yesterday. The first was Ryan Day saying, "No, guys, I don't want to leave. This is the best job in America.
I'm happy here."
Yeah, you're lucky to have it there, Ryan. God.
Yeah, you want to talk about privilege. My God, Ryan
just
Day.
Elevated. You're lucky Urban Meyer just kind of sucked at policing his staff. Like, let's point out why he originally got the job there, Ryan.
And then the other one was Lincoln Riley had to respond to a report that University of Central Florida was going to reach out to try to poach him from USC. And he had to say, no, I'm happy here. I don't want to leave. LA is where I want to be. And I love that he had to respond to a UCF report.
Wild how the mighty have fallen. That's where we're at 3 years into his tenure, that Central Florida thinks they can take their shot with Lincoln Riley.
Boy, that's a bold little move by them to even put that in the headlines of like,
hey, this guy went 6-6. He's probably going to be 7-5 next year. We all know you're going to fire him at some point. You can't afford that buyout, USC. How about we help each other out here? I'll scratch your back, you scratch ours. We'll give you 20% of the buyout. He'll become our head coach.
It is interesting how quickly we're firing people in that business, isn't it?
It happens rapidly, man. It does. Those weren't even the only coaching storylines that cracked me up yesterday. You see what Brian Kelly did yesterday? Him and his family.
I may have missed it.
Oh, he was crying poor. Oh. How are we going to compete in this new NIL era? I mean, I'm at LSU where there's clearly no money to spend. There's no big boosters. They got one of the top corners in the country, DJ Pickett. I'm sure he's playing for free. He didn't get any sort of NIL deal. And he said, it's a shame that all these guys just go for the money instead of fit and what's best for them. Okay, Brian.
You could shave off $1 million and make 8.2 instead of 9.2. Help your NIL collective out. Other coaches, and I'm not just
maybe Bryce Underwood would have signed with you if you would have given him an extra $1 million.
No, Connor Stallions is his high school coach. He was always going to end up at Michigan.
I just if you want to be Trent Bray or somebody like, hey, how are we going to compete in this NIL? I get it, dude. That's a valid argument, and you're kind of screwed, and there's not really a pathway to do it. You're at LSU.
I know.
You've been paying guys. You don't think Odell Beckham got paid to go to LSU? You don't think Joe Burrow got paid when he was at LSU?
Jamarcus Russell.
You're LSU, and you're crying poor.
$80 million a year, and you're media
Yes,
deals.
it might even be north of that with all the playoff bowl tie-in crap. You're
Your
going to make like $100
gymnastics
million.
teams makes money. Your women's basketball
Yes.
teams makes money. Your baseball team. They are one of the best athletic institutions in America. They have like 4 sports.
Their baseball team just won the College World Series with Paul Skeens.
Dirt, think about this. Oregon's got great track, great football, right?
They do.
The baseball team's not bad. The basketball team's obviously off to a great start. The women's team's had some success. How many programs in America have 4 different teams, men and women, that make a profit?
Yeah.
LSU is one of those.
They're one of
However
them.
many there are, LSU is definitely one of them.
They had an Amazon Prime documentary following their athletes.
And they're crying poor.
And they're crying poor.
Boy, that's why I didn't see that.
We
but that's
can't.
why.
How are we supposed to compete with all this NIL money getting spent?
Let's get to the second hour. I want to get to a recruiting story that came out about your program and just how funny it is, the reaction in the college sports landscape to what one recruit said yesterday. But let's kick off the second hour. The Daily Ticker is going to be early. Hour 2, Mike Jorgenson, longtime play-by-play guy of the Oregon Ducks, joins us next. Hour 2 on the Fan and the Odyssey app.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss
HD2 Portland, an Odyssey sports station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, a massive signing day for the Oregon Ducks for the recruiting class of 2025. They got 5-star wideouts DeCorian Moore and Dallas Wilson, 5-star defensive backs Trey McNutt and Naeem Alford, as well as flipping 4-star quarterback Jaron Kawe Sagapolu-Tele. From Cal originally, the Ducks snagging the 4th best recruiting class in college football. And on the college hardwood, 12th ranked Oregon handling USC on the road 68-60 the final. Jackson Shellstead leading the way in a comeback effort. 24 points overall, 21 of which came in the second half, keeping Oregon undefeated at 9-0. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Got a smart speaker? It's the Fan in your office and every room of your home. Tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan. This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan. In this wide world of sports, some stories can slip through the cracks.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules.
Pelican Brewing presents The Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague hit the big stories you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague is poured by Pelican Brewing. Celebrate the season with a Northwest tradition, Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale. Pelican Brewing, born at the beach.
All right, welcome back in. Hour 2 might sound a little odd to some of you P1s out there, or P2s or P3s. We don't normally start the second hour with the Daily Ticker, but today's Daily Ticker is early, and it's brought to you by Pelican Brewing Company. Whether you are on the nice list or the naughty list, I think Dirt's firmly on the naughty list every year.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Celebrate the season with Pelican's festive brew, Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale. And today's early ticker guest today, because we will do whatever we can to get this guy on the radio program, is former Duck legendary player and legendary broadcaster Mike Jorgenson. Jorgie, you can find him on social media. He'll be calling another conference championship game this weekend with the great Jerry Allen in Indianapolis, Oregon, Penn State, and he joins us now on the Daily Ticker. Jorgie, good morning. I want to ask you, yesterday was National Signing Day, a big deal to people in college football. Oregon had some flips. There was one kid that said, one of the selling points and what worked for him for Oregon, and that caused a stir in college football. So I want to ask you, I encounter Mike Jorgenson in 1980, and I say, Mike, I'll give you an Oldsmobile Cutlass right now if you come to my school. Would that have done it?
Yeah, Ford Pinto would have probably done it then. So.
Phil Knight designed a shoe for you when you were at Oregon, Jorgie? Did you get that Phil Knight specifically designed shoe?
Isn't that something that's, and again, with each into their own as to how they get excited and what they get excited about. I mean, being able to design a shoe of your own and let alone to be associated with Nike, frankly, would be a thrill, I think, for any student athlete, coming right out of high school into college. So that swoosh is powerful.
Yeah.
And it means something. And it means something in a good way. So if it becomes one of those type of situations where that's what helps draw players in, among other things, then so be it. Take advantage of it.
Yeah. Well, we want to talk about the Big Ten title game with you because it's an interesting and exciting matchup. Also, a lot of history from where these two teams last played to where they're both at now, especially with Oregon. We've talked to Anthony Newman about this story on the air. I don't know if I can recall if you've told us this. Could you just walk us as quickly as you can? What was being recruited by Oregon and in college like in 1980-81 versus what it feels like or looks like today?
Well, I mean, the social media aspect of it has just become huge. And the way that players can be promoted online, all the videos, all the all-star camps that you go to of high school players, position situations, the way that people are promoted these days just wasn't the way it was back in the early 80s. I mean, coaches had to drive to go watch a play. They would obviously order up some film every once in a while, maybe from, the high school that you played for. But their opportunity was either sending scouts out by word, maybe from people that they knew in that particular area. And then when word got out that maybe there was somebody pretty good in a particular area, they showed up in masses. And again, just the social media aspect of it that hypes people up is the biggest piece of it, I think, nowadays. And so, I know there's a lot of other things that go with it. It's funny that, I don't dial in probably to recruiting as much as I should. I was texting back and forth with Andy yesterday, driving back from Memphis, saying, "How did it go?" Because I was in meetings all day. But it was one of those ones where you follow it all the way along. You kind of know who the dudes are, who Oregon is after, and who all the big time schools are after, and that type of deal. But you dial it back to the early 1980s and mid 1980s, and that type of deal. It just wasn't that way unless you were in a big metro area that was easily accessible by coaches like Anthony up at Beaverton in the Portland area, or, I'm in Ontario, Oregon, on the east side of the state. Boise was the biggest and closest city, and other than that, you had to pretty much drive everywhere you went versus hopping on a jet. So.
Right. Much different landscape now than it used to be. It is funny to think about how much the program has changed and what we would have thought maybe 30 years ago, saying, hey, Oregon's going to have maybe the number one recruiting class in the country. Just wild how the program has grown, and that's going to be on display again this weekend. I'm curious to ask you, before we get into this game, just what you made of what their defense did on Saturday night. Damon Williams, I thought looked pretty good for a freshman making his first start. Good athlete, ran around, made some plays with his legs, but to have 10 sacks in a game was wild. I mean, just under constant pressure, and it kind of connects back to signing day, where that was the focal point of Lanning when he got there, of how do we get better on the defensive front? How do we get bigger? How do we get stronger? Almost culminating in that game on Saturday night. They're going to need him this weekend again, but just your thoughts on that performance and that pass rush against the Huskies.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job. What they did such a good job of was shutting down Jonah Coleman, and he was zero factor coming into that game with 1,000 yards rushing, and I don't know if he got 10. Really, at the end of the day, when I looked at what his stats were, I think he had more carries than he did yards, and he was a guy that they had to be able to have a decent game, take a little bit of the pressure off of Damon Williams. But Williams, man, that guy is quick. If he develops into the type of guy that he could potentially be, smallish, and so he's going to get beat around a little bit if anybody can catch him anyway. But he's a speedy dude that I think it can cause a lot of people problems as he gets the experience and the snaps and can get beyond maybe his first or second choice. That's the thing that they had to do with him, was they really had to simplify the playbook. And if you go to choice number one or choice number two in your progression of receivers and they're not open, you got to take off and use your legs. But what Oregon did such a great job of is not letting him get outside very often. They've got the speed to match his speed. That's the other thing about it. When you've got linebackers that, are arguably some of the fastest guys on the team, it's a good matchup to be able to have. And so I thought Oregon just did a great job of harassing him, not letting Washington's offense get into any type of rhythm all game long. They had a couple of drives. Every team's going to do that, but just did not let them get into rhythm at all, and sack him 10 times is pretty unbelievable.
Our guest is Mike Jorgenson, color analyst for Oregon Duck Radio Football. You can catch him every game here on The Fan and all throughout the great state on the Oregon Sports Network as they get ready for the Big Ten title game this week against Penn State. We've had the Penn State play-by-play guy, Steve Jones, on this week. We talked to Josh Pate, who covers college football nationally. Interesting, like Steve Jones at Penn State certainly knows how good Oregon is and what they're capable of. Thinks this is going to be a good matchup because physically these teams aren't that far apart. Josh Pate yesterday, Jorgie, said Penn State's pass rush is better than Ohio State's, which if you look at the Big Ten all-conference teams, you probably wouldn't conclude that reading the names from where they're at. He says it's better than Ohio State. What about Penn State for you when you've seen them? You've seen tape, whatever it be, what for you stands out about Penn State that kind of makes you wonder, how is Oregon going to do against this unit?
Abdul Carter is the first guy that sticks out like a sore thumb. He's got, the amount of tackles for loss that he has, sacks that he has. He's their DJ. Uyunglele, based on the amount of he's got 20 tackles for loss. He's got 10 sacks. And that's basically what DJ has DJ. I want to call him DJ, but Uyunglele has, Mateo has, from a standpoint of sacks. They both have the matching sacks. Abdul Carter has more tackles for loss, so he's in the backfield a lot. I guess I don't know if you guys have had a chance to take a look at Penn State's stats compared to Oregon's, offensively and defensively. They're almost a mirror image of each other. in the points they score per game, their first downs per game, sacks per game, third down conversions, total offense, total defense. They're almost mirror images of each other. And you think about how many sacks Oregon had last week against Washington with 10, so they end up with 39 so far this season. Penn State's got 32. And that 10-sack game is kind of an anomaly that throws things off. So they're almost mirror images in relation to sacks, too. So, again, the first guy that sticks out to me is Abdul Carter. I mean, he just makes plays all over the place, particularly in the backfield. And that's going to be the key for both of these quarterbacks and both of these offenses. How do you protect your quarterback? How does Drew Aller get protected? How does Dylan Gabriel get protected? Do they get sacked? Do they get harassed? Because it can really throw an offense off if you can do that. And both these defenses can really throw the other offenses off.
The weird thing, Jorgie, about this game this weekend is that there's not, last year against Washington, everything's on the line. You win the game, you're in the playoff. You lose the game, you're going to a New Year's Six game, and that's kind of the end of your year. This year's a little bit different, right? You lose the game, and maybe your punishment is the 5 seed, which might end up being an easier path throughout the college football playoffs. It's kind of a weird feeling going in. I'm just curious to ask you, not only for this weekend, but going forward, where is the spot that maybe still is a concern for you? They're like, if somebody's going to get Oregon, that's what ends up, run game. Is it, pass protection? The defense has been great, but at times we saw Genty ran against them and Ohio State threw it on them. Where's the weakness that you're looking at of saying, if somebody's going to get Oregon and knock them off, this is the reason it's going to happen?
Well, you did say one of them right there that would, I wouldn't say it concerns me, but at times it's been a little bit inconsistent, and that's the run defense. And it's not that, Penn State with Nick Singleton coming in, 750 yards or so rushing. He doesn't come in as a 1,000-yard rusher, a 1,200-yard rusher, but he's just good enough to hurt you. And that's what I think that's what Penn State's going to have to do to be able to really have an opportunity to beat this Oregon team. They're going to have to be able to run the ball. And Singleton's good out of the backfield, too, as a receiver, but they have to be able to run the ball. And there's been times this year where you just kind of scratch your head a little bit. Wisconsin's the most recent, game where all of a sudden they're just shutting down the run in the first half, and then all of a sudden Wisconsin starts going off. They start gashing Oregon's defense, and not necessarily scoring points, but moving down the field at times and putting themselves in the red zone and that type of deal. And so that's where I see Oregon maybe would get taken advantage of would be the rush defense. They can't let Nick Singleton and this Penn State offense get off in that direction, because that's where Tyler Warren all of a sudden becomes effective.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy that's caught 80 passes. I mean, that's just ridiculous that a tight end has caught that much and that many passes, and yet he is the main key for that offense to really get going. But if they can run the ball, that's where all of a sudden Tyler Warren becomes really dangerous.
Well, Jorgie, I was going to ask you about him because you just referenced Coleman having sub 12 yards, 10 yards rushing in that game. He clearly was a focal point for Taj Lapoy in that defense. Would you be surprised if Tyler Warren had a big game Saturday? Because I think I put myself in the camp of I will. I know he's a great player. I've seen him hike a ball and then catch a fade route in the same play. I've never seen that in my life. I know how good he is. I would be surprised if Lapoy and that defense aren't just keyed on him and saying, you know what, other people going to beat us. Would you be surprised if Warren had a big game Saturday?
I mean, I think even if you focus on him, he's going to have a big game. He's that good. Oregon has seen some good tight ends this year. One at Michigan, obviously, that gave him problems, and they knew he was the main guy that Michigan would go to, if any receiver, and he still caught 8-10 balls. So I just think that Tyler Warren's going to have a decent game. He's going to catch balls. He's going to get his yards. It just can't be one of those 15-catch, 3-touchdown games. That's what you don't want Tyler Warren to do, because they find gimmicky ways to put him into that offense. Sometimes he doesn't touch the ball, but like a Tez Johnson, he's the alpha on that offense. You got to know where he is. You got to know where he's lined up. When they break the huddle, you got to figure out where number 44 is, and that's already a problem when you have to do that with somebody on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So I don't doubt that Tyler Warren is going to have a big game. It just can't be the ones that are touchdowns or one of the ones where all of a sudden he gets free one-on-one, beats an inside linebacker for 60 yards in a touchdown type of situation. That's what you can't give up to a guy like Tyler Warren. He's fun to watch. He's a big dude, 6'6", 260, athletic as all can get up, and he's going to be a key to that offense. But, again, if Nick Singleton gets off running the ball, he's going to be that much more dangerous.
There we go. Good stuff. Mike Jorgenson, longtime play-by-play guy for Oregon Duck football, getting ready for the Big Ten title game this weekend. All it costs is a Ford Pinto, and Mike Jorgenson is all
It's
yours.
all it takes, man. It's easy. Easy recruitment.
It's very easy.
And a nice pair of shorts. That's all you need.
Some nice khakis. Some khaki shorts. I love it. Jorgie, thank you for joining us this morning. We always appreciate having you on. Have a great call on Saturday, and hope we can catch up with you as the Ducks get ready for the playoff.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, there we go. Mike Jorgenson on the Daily Ticker, brought to you by Pelican Brewing Company. Whether you are on the nice list or the naughty list, celebrate the season with Pelican's festive brew, Bad Santa Cascadian Dark Ale. Ho, ho, ho. Good stuff from Jorgie on the Penn State matchup. I totally agree with him. It's just limit the 3-touchdown game. I also, again, bracket him. I don't know what the number is, but if he has over 6 catches in this game, 7 catches, that means he's going to be a monster. And that's probably going to put Penn State in a position to potentially have a bit of an upset in the Big Ten title game. I just think Lapoy and Lanning are really good at this, finding the guy on the team and saying, all right, well, Singleton might have a decent little day for himself. And but Aller, you're going to have to space it out with other guys. Tyler Warren is not beating us the way he's beaten other teams.
He has, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games this year under 6 catches.
Yeah.
5
I think
games
you can
this
do
year.
that then.
Against USC, he had 17 for 224.
That's one of the best tight end games I've ever seen in my life.
Just completely dominated. I do like his point, though, on Colson Loveland at Michigan, because he's the only target that Michigan had. Oregon knew that going into the game, and he still ended up having a big day. So there's sometimes that you can game plan as much as you want around a guy.
Some guys are
They
tough.
come with a wrinkle, and you can have 2 bodies on him. It doesn't matter. He's going to jump over you and make a catch, and, hey, it was great defense, but a better play by the offensive player.
This story making waves in recruiting, and we'll kind of recap some of what recruiting was yesterday. We'll get to that next on The Fan.
for a reason.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
We got a delightful little Thursday night football game on our hands tonight.
We do. Am I going to Sprague the line on this game?
Oh, I need to check. Is the hook still there or is it gone?
I'll see. Let me
we'll
check.
We'll get to that later. Yeah. It's not pressing. Recruiting day yesterday, National Signing Day. Coincidentally was my birthday, so I'd be fully transparent. I completely didn't follow this most of the day.
You weren't glued to 24/7's live YouTube feed all afternoon. What the hell is the matter with you?
Taylor Estes and Brandon Huffman are great friends of the program.
That they are.
They carried the banner yesterday for 24/7, did an exceptional job.
I watch a lot of it, man. They do. They're my kind of go-to recruiting site. They had wall-to-wall coverage with live announcements. It was a lot of great analysts on their network. They did an unbelievable job.
So I'm just going to use them because I don't want to dabble in like all the others. There's like 5 of these things, and I don't know who to believe and, who's accurate. Yesterday I was on the program. We talked about Oregon and how they invest their money with, high school versus portal. And something to the effect of like, Landing and Oregon don't feel like they need to be giving bags to kids at quarterback. You can wait for that. And then later in the day, they flipped the kid from Cal.
Darren Sagapotule, whatever.
He's a duck.
That aged well.
He's a duck. He also, it was interesting, I was watching Lanny's press conference last night. He credited the primary recruiter in that case was Dylan Gabriel. That Dylan Gabriel was a quarterback at the Elite 11 event, which is where JKS, which is what I'm going to stick with for now.
Until we don't want to say the name wrong.
Until I get more comfortable with the last name, where he kind of started to pop. He was a 3-star kid, I think, going into his senior year. And then he ended up torching everybody and breaking all the Hawaii State passing records this year. Poly Connection. Oregon's got a great lineage with Hawaiian quarterbacks. And Gabriel met him at the Elite 11, and he came back and told the staff, he was like, dude, this kid's – you guys recruiting this kid? He's pretty good. And then his profile continued to rise and rise and rise as the season went on in Hawaii. And so Lanning actually last night said that Dylan Gabriel was one of his primary recruiters because like Gabriel grew up idolizing Marcus Mariota, one of the reasons he wanted to come to Oregon and wear number 8 and do the whole thing. This kid grew up idolizing Dylan Gabriel. He was the quarterback that was slightly ahead of him that he grew up when he was 10, 11, looking like, I want to be like that guy. And so Gabriel had a big hand in him.
So does he ask Gabriel to wear 8, or does he still got to talk to Mariota?
That's a good question. I don't know how that works. I think they all need to ask Anthony Newman. Anthony Newman's the OG number 8. They got to go. They got to go through Q first.
I love Q. I do. He's one of my favorite people that we have at the station. I think 8's a Poly number now, buddy.
See, they've taken it from him. It's no longer the Anthony Newman number.
Unfortunately,
it's
I
the
think
Poly quarterback
it's
number.
The Poly pipeline now. One other player of note that was interesting because Lanning had a good day. Oregon on 24/7 is ranked 4th in the recruiting rankings. So they were somewhere around 10 to 12 going into the day.
Yeah.
And they finished today mighty strong. At number 4 on 24/7. One kid they flipped was a 5-star cornerback, the best player in the state of Alabama, Naeem Offord.
Yes.
And he was long thought to be Ohio State lock. Like people were, they got a good player in this 5-star DB. At his signing day, he did the thing that the kids do that I don't blame him because I probably would have done it too. Get the hat. Everybody starts cheering. Hey, yeah. Wait, what? Take the hat off. Throw that out of there. I'm not going to that school. Grabs the duck hat, puts it on, says, go Ducks. CBS writes a story about Naeem Offord. Very interesting. He credits Phil Knight for going to Oregon. He said, quote, he played a big role, like a huge, big role. He's actually waiting on me to get up there. He's got a lot of stuff planned for me. He's going to help me make my shoe.
You're damn right he is.
And the college football world collectively went, wow, damn it. Because you can't compete with
compete with that.
You
It's Nike.
cannot compete with that. The collective is well together. Lanning's a psycho and awesome.
Yeah.
Kilkenny, obviously a massive donor to their situation. The collective Duck Fund is good. You cannot compete with the head or the former head, however you want to view it, of the biggest apparel sports company in the world saying, why don't you come to Eugene? I'll make you a shoe. Okay, is that shoe ever going to hit the stores? How is this shoe going to be gauged? Doesn't matter. 5-star guy locked up because Uncle Phil says we're going to make you a shoe.
They've been working hard on him for a long time. Naeem Offord committed to Ohio State about a year ago, I want to say. I remember him being on the sideline. I was walking around prior to the Oregon-Ohio State game. That was his big official visit for Oregon. They wanted him to be there that weekend because they thought they could beat Ohio State. So he was there walking around on the sideline. All the other Duck commits were trying to recruit him to come over, watching the team that he had already committed to lose the game, and then the team that's trying to convince him to come win the game. It was kind of a unique recruiting to follow. The smoke started to build in the last couple of days. Nike is a massive, massive part of this. There's no doubt about it. I also wonder in his own internal mind how much of the loss to Michigan and what's going to happen with Ohio State. Like, they're facing the reality they could lose their first playoff game and Ryan Day could get fired. Will it happen? I don't know. But there's at least a percentage chance out there that could take place.
Can I interject real quick?
Go ahead. Fire away.
I love the rant.
Yeah.
I don't say this to, like, do debate stuff. I think this is my POV.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think these kids are making these decisions on that. I could be wrong, but like when we talk about quarterbacks who go to programs who have young quarterbacks in place, we're always like, how do you not see that you're not playing over that guy?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think a lot of them just have their alpha ego that think I'm going to win the job.
I just think it's as simple as like, the bag's there, great. You're going to be taken care of. You're going to be thought of in Lanning's mind. And, oh, by the way, you're going to have a shoe. I don't know how much of these kids watch this stuff. I don't think they do, to be honest with you. I heard a story that Oregon State recruits didn't even know that Oregon State wasn't in what was the Pac-12 anymore, that the conference had been blown up. They were like, what? And like, I
have a hard time believing that. They don't know that the conference doesn't exist anymore, that Oregon's playing in the Big Ten.
Dirt, I'm telling
you. USC's in the Big Ten.
Dirt.
I have a hard time believing that.
I think our assumptions of that sport are nowhere near what the players are doing with it.
I might be overcomplicating it. That's fair. The whole, like, Oregon's not in the Pac-12 anymore. USC isn't there anymore. Everybody else has moved on. Like,
I'm telling you, I heard a story that a kid they were recruiting was caught off guard.
Was he from Antarctica? Where's he from?
But if the kid doesn't watch Sports Center and he doesn't watch football games every weekend, how is he to find that out? He ain't going to a newspaper website.
I mean, I would imagine another coach recruiting against Oregon State would use it against him at some point. Like,
that's how he found out.
They don't even have a conference anymore.
That's how he found out.
Did they not watch football? I'm confused by this.
Look, I think there's this middle ground here. Like, I might be giving it too much credit, but I also think these guys know the trends. Like, I think one of the biggest selling points right now for Lanning on the recruiting trail is that he's not going anywhere. I think that's one of the biggest arguments that he has of, like,
I think that's more for parents and the players.
Yeah, I don't. I think a lot of players want to know who they're going to play for when they commit to a college.
I'd be fascinated to do a deep dive. And the tough thing with this is, like, we couldn't get the recruiting people to do off the record stuff on the record.
I
think we'd be surprised how little the players know about this stuff versus the mom wants to know if, Coach, are you going to be there? The player's like, whatever.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think the player, if I were a commit, that would be a big thing for me. I don't want my coach to bounce after 1 year or have a guy that just hops around from job to job every 2 years.
We're also in sports radio.
We are.
You're aware of this stuff.
The other thing, though, too, is that I think it's important to point out, like, the Nike shoe thing is funny, and I don't know how that's even going to look. The NIL offers are all very similar from big schools.
The money stuff, yeah.
This kid was committed to Ohio State, okay? Like, this isn't like Ohio State doesn't pay any recruits, and now all of a sudden Oregon offered him $2 million, and he, like, they gave Caleb Downs a couple of million. They have a $25 million roster. Like, you're not going from he was committed to Western Michigan, and then Oregon all of a sudden said, hey, here's $1.5 million. You want to come play for us? Like, some of this NIL stuff just makes me chuckle. Like, that's the only reason that kids make decisions. I'm not saying it's not a big part of it. I'm not saying that every kid that commits to Oregon is committing because they love green and yellow and that money has nothing to do with it. Of course, money has a ton to do with it. I'm giving it credit for being a little more complicated than that, of relationships, continuity of staff, the success of the team you're not selling a vision anymore. You're saying, look at what we're doing. We're 12-0. We're the number one team in the country. So you got all that stuff working in your favor. I just know in the offer kit, they've been working on that kid forever. And all these flips don't end up happening. Lincoln Keir's another guy, the tight end that they tried to get from Kansas State. He didn't end up flipping at the last second.
Home.
He stayed at home. He wanted to be the hometown kid and the hometown hero. Good for him, man. I hope he kills it at Kansas State. So not every flip ends up happening, but I know they've been working on this one. And the Oregon recruits have been working on this one for a long time.
My Beavs finished 65th in recruiting.
That's not terrible.
I went and looked
middle
at
of the
it.
road.
Well, I mean, it's kind of about what they largely are. So to the credit for Bray is like they didn't really drop. They have out-recruited Louisville, Washington State. Now they're a big rival. You know, they lost in the conference championship game to Oregon State.
Yes, they did.
They out-recruited Tulane, Vanderbilt, UNLV, Cal, Boise State, San Diego State. Like, some of those programs might not matter to much Duck fans, but in Oregon State's world and in the Power 4 level, like out-recruiting those schools.
That's your new conference. You want to be better
those
than
are all
them.
rivals for you.
Yes,
now,
you've out-recruited all your future partners and some P4 schools that I listed there in Vandy and Cal. Vandy had a good year. Cal, humming along, but out-recruiting those programs as well. So they finished 65th. Is Offord's shoe going to be at just at Autzen, or is it going to be?
I have no clue.
A swoosh. Like
my guess would be
only?
they make something and then they sell it on their NIL.
Oh, for the donations.
For the donations, and
or
fans
like in
can
the
go
Ducks
buy it.
team store, or whatever.
Or in the Ducks team. Yeah, I mean that
like
would
a
be
limited
my
release
guess.
type deal.
I don't think it's going to be in Nike stores worldwide.
On the average of recruit ranking, Oregon is 4th in team ranking. They actually have the highest player ratings. So they edged Bama barely, and they edged Texas barely. They lost behind in terms of the ranking stuff with Texas, Bama, Georgia, but player rating wise, they're the highest.
Yeah, they have one more kid they're waiting on. Andrew Olish is a tight end that has, I don't believe, committed yet. And I don't know if that's supposed to, I don't know the timing on that. I'd have to ask Nimick. But he was, I think people wondered if he was going to commit yesterday. He's currently a Michigan commit. He did not sign yesterday, to my knowledge. And so they got a chance. They're working hard on flipping him. Tight end was a big need for them. They got the Vanderploeg kid from Washington who did sign. They thought they were going to get Lincoln Kier. That didn't end up coming to fruition. So he's a high 4-star tight end. So they got a chance to add one more kind of blue chip guy onto that list. And the Oregon State thing, like, dude, I think you take mid-60s. I think Nimick was on our show earlier this week, and Beaver fans were not happy with him. They're not usually very happy with him.
We just got a tweet 10 minutes ago.
Did we? Again, that back and forth is still going on. Yeah. I think, to be fair to him, what he was trying to say is this is kind of their normal territory of recruiting rankings. They've had years where they've been worse than this. They've had years where they've been slightly better. This class doesn't have one or two guys that maybe kind of stand out above the rest, if that makes sense. Like, Aiden Childs was a pretty highly thought of recruit when he signed.
4-star kid.
Damian Martinez wasn't a 2-star nobody. Like,
elevated to 4-star.
Elevated to 4-star, right? So those classes had one or two of those guys. You kind of say that's the focal point of this class, and we'll build around it from there. The one knock that I would say outside of that is their quarterback, who I believe is the nephew or cousin of the Uiagalelei family, Tristan Tia.
Yeah, I saw their dad was kind of pushing Oregon State for how they treated DJ.
He did not end up signing yesterday, which I don't know if that was expected or not, but that kind of stuff always makes you worried a little bit. And now evidently he is going to sign in February. So that was the only, outside of not having maybe a bell cow that you look at, say he's the headliner of the class, that was the only other negative for Oregon State yesterday.
Well, Oregon State also had this. The portal opened. Andre Jordan went in it.
Yeah, he did.
Their DB. They had some guys commit, though. Like, Hankerson says he's coming back.
Van Wells, starting center, said he's coming back for another year. Trent Walker already said it.
Yep. So we got some guys, but the portal.
Oregon lost an offensive lineman yesterday as well, Shaq McCroy.
Yeah.
Who's a true freshman this year, didn't play at all. But
every program's going to be dealing with this. Every year, all the time. The portal's just going to keep opening. Sucking guys in left and right.
That's the way it works, man. Modern college football. It opens officially next Monday.
All right, we have a lot more to get into. Dirt and Sprague back with more, but first, Schulte with the sports update.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, it was a huge signing day for the Oregon Ducks and getting the recruiting class of 2025 all ready on the dotted line. They highlighted the day, was highlighted by 5-star receivers DeCorian Moore and Dallas Wilson, 5-star defensive backs Trey McNutt, as well as flipping Naeem Offord from Ohio State, and getting 4-star quarterback Jaron Kawe Sagopolu-Tele to flip from Cal. The Ducks overall snagging the 4th best recruiting class in college football. Over on the college hardwood, a busy one for Oregon as well. Their 12th ranked team handling USC on the road 68-60 the final. Jackson Shelstad 21 points in the second half in a comeback effort, 24 overall. Keyshawn Bartholomew adding 18 and 4 threes off the bench. Of course, Oregon still undefeated at 9-0. Week 14 of the NFL kicking off with an NFC showdown tonight. You got the Lions and the Packers in Detroit. Green Bay, a 3-point underdog in that one. Kickoff at 5:15 on Amazon Prime. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
One number does it all for contests and texting your favorite fan show.
All right, we'll try and get back on the clock here. I do have...
Well, you wouldn't shut up.
I know, I'm fired up. I love signing day, man. Signing day is a big deal.
I do find it funny. Like, we can certainly highlight how they have an advantage to make a shoe.
Yes.
I do find it hilarious. Like, was there any reaction to Texas getting 5 stars?
Oregon seemingly is the only program that has to deal with
It just
this.
really bothers
Michigan
the
just
collective.
openly paid $12 million for Bryce Underwood.
And nobody cared.
They said, well, they won a national championship. Why wouldn't he want to go there?
He might
but
get a
Oregon does it.
Barstool
It's
podcast
why would this guy go to Oregon?
Right,
Well,
right.
Remember when I said last week
12
that
and 0
people
and number
still,
one team in the country.
Yeah.
still
Dan
nationally-
Lanning's committed. And
People's nationally still kind of give Oregon crap, and you kind of poo-pooed on that. Like,
yeah.
this
Look at that.
is
Schultz
what
is
I'm
right.
talking
Where
about.
Schultz
This.
was right.
Nope.
Nailed it.
No matter what
Not
kind of
at all.
success they have, everybody questions it
Thank
along
you,
the
Schultz.
way.
Nobody's
Nope.
giving us a chance.
Nope.
Nobody is.
Nope.
Even the FBI, 54% chance for Penn State. Why don't you stick that in your pipe and smoke it?
I'd put a couple.
Everybody
$100
doubting us.
I'd put a couple $100 on Oregon to cover already.
You're the Vegas favorite to win the championship.
No, we're not. I don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here.
Also, that wasn't your argument. Your argument was that people were criticizing Dan Lanning, the coach. You did not say recruiting and that. You said the coach, and I said that's not true.
I said
Schulte was right. You're
any
wrong.
any
Moving
kind
on.
of accomplishments that Oregon's had. Yes, and I talked about Dan Lanning beating Washington
Conflating
specifically.
the topics.
But whatever. You know what?
This is
I'm
what
not
we
going to
do.
rehash this. I was
mold
right.
arguments to win. That's how we roll. I do. It
Embrace
is. I
debate.
look. There is part of me. I do chuckle, and I don't get angry. I try not to get angry about it. I do feel like my school is the only one that deals with the idea that big time. It's only money when this is happening literally everywhere.
Well, I don't think it's the money thing anymore. I think it's more like the shoe thing. You know what I
Sure,
mean?
like there's no other reason to want to go to Oregon.
Texas gives kids Lambos, and we
They
don't
do.
really talk about that much.
Ohio State pays kids like crazy.
Yeah.
Michigan does.
Yeah.
Washington paid their own guys last year to keep their entire roster together. They give millions of dollars to their own team to make a run at a national championship. You don't think LSU's paying guys? You don't think DJ Lagway got paid to go to Florida? Jakeem Stewart signed with USC, by the way. He's a 5-star defensive lineman.
Yeah, he was somebody Oregon was after.
The intel was that USC got so desperate because the recruiting class crumbled a little bit that they just offered him. They were like, here you go. Here's another $1 million. He signed with USC. Are we doing that? The only reason he went to USC because he got paid?
Well, part of that is the blue blood stuff, too, right? It's the programs we grew up seeing be consistently
They
at
don't
the
have to
top.
deal with it.
No, because they've
It's
been
the new
doing
bloods.
it. Yeah, it really is. Like, I'm trying to think of other programs that would fall in line here. But, like, for example, Ohio State took a head coach away to be an OC. And we talked about that because it involved a former Oregon coach. Florida State just did that, too.
They did.
And I could only imagine the reaction if Oregon loses Will Stein and steals somebody's head coach as an OC. Like, there is something about Oregon. It bothers people. The ability to recruit well, and you can certainly cite whatever you want to cite for why they do that.
Yeah.
And the winning, it just, there's local pockets, there's Pacific Northwest pockets, and all throughout the country, it bothers people.
It does, man. Remind me how it ended for Don James in Seattle, too, by the way. Should I go look up those headlines as well? One other quick update.
More portal news.
Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma.
Oh, we
Is
talked
this
about
gonna,
that off air.
Is this going to cost Brent Venables his handling of the quarterback situation?
I
Going to
don't
cost him his job?
think so, because I think there might be intel here.
Mateer's going to follow Arbuckle, you think?
There's a little bit of that. I
Yeah.
don't know how you don't connect some of those dots until we see what Mateer ultimately does. They just took the OC for Washington State away. We've talked about this with Day. We've talked about this with other coaches. Kelly, maybe Riley. I came to a conclusion yesterday that I think we fire people too quickly. Also, I think a lot of big spenders in the college football world, I think at some point they're just going to realize, like, you're just stupidly spending your money. Millions upon millions for buyouts and somebody else's buyout. And
Now
then
the next coach.
And I'm not saying Riley's going to turn it around or Day's going to beat Michigan next year. I'm just saying, like, I kind of think I lean a little more patience unless it's absolutely cratering to a point where had Lincoln won 4 games this year, okay.
Yeah.
And not that 6-6 is good. But it's like patience. Let's see if these coaches, like, we know Ryan Day's a good coach.
We do.
What degree? We could debate that. Riley, we know he's a good coach. He knows how to work with quarterbacks. Is he going to learn? You know, there's varying degrees to this stuff. I think they're kind of like that at Oklahoma. Got to give this guy one more year. Go hire OC. Arnold leaving's not shocking. Does the OC bring Mateer?
Yeah, probably going to happen. I'm curious if Arnold, what is left there for Arnold. That's an interesting. I mean, he was a highly touted kid out of high school. He did not have a good year this year, but when you look at their wide receiver injuries, Oklahoma basically had their top 4 wide receivers out all year. They had nobody to throw to. Bad offensive coordinator hire when Jeff Lebby left, which is why he got fired, and they had to bring Arbuckle in. Like, he was kind of dealt a bad hand to a certain extent. And he actually, by the way, could have easily quit on it, not quit, but he could have decided to sit out and redshirt because he got banged up early in the year. And then they asked him because all their other quarterbacks got hurt and they wanted to go back to him late in the season. So he cost himself a redshirt year playing. Now, he led him to a win over Alabama late in the season. So actually a team guy that kind of, lifted them up at the end of the season. I'm just curious to see where he ends up and if there's anything there because we've seen these reclamation projects at quarterback.
He'll get a bag and he'll have
Penix,
someone.
Bo. There's a lot of these guys that have transferred around. You're like, damn, where'd that come from? Maybe he's the next guy on that list.
You can't clearly define these players based on what you saw this year. Like
No.
Jackson Arnold isn't top of my head of great passers in America.
No.
But he goes to the right system next year. I don't know if I'll bat an eye at him being really good.
Good offensive line, good weapons. You never know, man. Have there ever been bigger ramifications for a game than this, plus some shots fired in the press conference? We'll get to that coming up next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainshomservices.com.
When you're individual stuff and you're trying to rely on everybody else to come before you, I think it starts with the individuals first. All of us have to take accountability. It's great to see it on film. Address it right there and there. And then go from there.
There's LeBron postgame. The Heat absolutely obliterate the Los Angeles Lakers yesterday, 134-93. The Lakers are 12-10 on the year. Anthony Davis, 3 for 14 with 8 points.
He is unbelievable the way he's been able to avoid some criticism because LeBron is always the headliner of that team, and the storyline seems to be Father Time caught up with LeBron instead of, it should. He's 40. Maybe Anthony Davis should be a number 1.
LeBron had it 2 days ago. He had 29 and 8 in this game. It's like the only good thing for them. The Lakers are stinking it up. Brought to you by Three Mountains Home Services. Make your home services delightful. Let the pros tackle the projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Home Services. That's threemountainshomservices.com.
Hey, everybody. Sprague here. You know I'm a sports guy, and you might even be able to guess one of my worst nightmares is my power going out right before an Oregon State or even a Blazer game. That's why my friends at Three Mountains Home Services are
Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
We got a tasty little Thursday night game tonight. We'll get to that in the final hour of the show. Has there ever been a game with bigger stakes than this? Saw this tweet the other day. It made me chuckle. This came from the Reddit college football page, which is a delightful account to follow. A lot of funny content for them throughout the day, especially on football weekends.
I enjoy the message board account.
The message board's a good one, too.
I think it's message board genius, and it's
solid.
just every fan base saying the dumbest crap when their team's down.
This tweet read, and we'll get to some audio that goes with it in a second.
Yeah.
The Mountain West Championship game is on Friday.
That it is, Andrew.
Boise State is hosting. I thought we talked about it earlier. I thought the game was in Vegas for some dumb reason. No, it's at the home site, so they're playing in Boise.
Yeah.
They are hosting the Mountain West Championship game against UNLV. If they win that game, there is a very good chance that they not only, they're going to go to the playoff. There's also a very good chance that they could get a first-round bye in the college football playoff.
It's also an even better, but there's also another chance not only to get a bye. If Clemson wins, they're going to get the 3 seed.
They could get the 3 seed. That's that is on the line for them. If they lose the game, so you win, maybe 3 seed, first round bye, first ever 12-team playoff.
What a year.
Millions of dollars flowing into your athletic department.
Yes.
If you lose the game, you're going to the LA Bowl hosted by Rob Gronkowski, playing Utah State. Has there ever been a bigger make or break game for UNLV knows if they get in, they're the 12 seed. UNLV's not getting a bye. Boise at least has a pathway to do that. Dude, that is a whoo, buddy. Yeah, what's the mentality of that team playing in the LA Bowl with 47 people in the crowd and Rob Gronkowski chugging mayonnaise at midfield before the game?
That's like getting in your car and your gas gauge is broken, so it's at full, and then you start driving and it goes immediately to the empty, and you're like, oh, I had no gas.
What the hell, man?
I love that you just probably forever with the LA Bowl will have Utah State because Oregon State played them
always
that
will
one
be.
year.
They play in it permanently. It's part of the contract. Utah State's in that game every year. That's the way it works.
That would be actually a fun, sneaky game because, by the way, that's a disaster scenario.
Is it not?
What program do you think of when I say a bowl game? If I throw at you the Holiday Bowl, what team do you see in your head there? Do you have teams associated with different bowl games?
I feel like for some of them I do.
Yeah.
Alamo Bowl, for whatever reason, I think of Texas. And I know Texas has been in bigger games. I feel like Texas has played in a lot of Alamo Bowls. I feel like both of our schools have played Texas in an Alamo Bowl.
They have.
Holiday Bowl is a tougher one.
Because there's been some classic Holiday Bowls.
There have. Right? And my team's won a couple. Your team's been to a Holiday Bowl?
Fiesta Bowl. I'm naturally going to be biased there.
You're going to go Oregon State, Notre Dame?
I mean, it's a Fiesta Bowl. Yeah. They played Notre Dame. It was a big deal when we were kids.
I go Liberty, Bibberty.
How do
you
Fiesta
not?
Bowl that the Ducks played in v Colorado instead of the national championship. That's always,
You could also go Boise State in that because of the
could.
Oklahoma upset.
That was their big win.
That's one of the more legendary games of all time.
Sadly, I kind of now think of the Fiesta Bowl as the afterthought game because they've been screwed with the team so many. UConn went to the Fiesta Bowl. Liberty went to the. They've had a lot of bad matchups, I feel like, over the last handful of years.
I hate to say it. You could give me a million examples. Husky fan could chime in on this one and say, no, it's definitely us.
Well, they lost to Penn State last time they were there.
I was going to say Orange Bowl, Mangino.
Yeah.
The whitest coach
Him
in
next
history.
to the orange mascot, and they were the same shape and the same size, and one of them was wearing an orange costume.
Right.
I'm excited for this game just because of this story. We know the winner's getting in, so that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole pathway to access for the new playoff that I like preaching about. Of this is all, dude. Boise State and UNLV are playing for a chance to go to the college football playoff on Friday night in 2-degree weather in Boise.
UNLV was one of the worst programs in the sport 4 years ago.
They have Marcus Arroyo is their head coach.
Yeah.
Who blocked me on Twitter.
He kind of turned it around for him a little bit at the end.
He's at ASU now, and he's their offensive coordinator.
Go look at him. They took a step, and then they axed him, and then Odom came in and elevated it even more.
It ended up being the right call because Barry Odom's doing pretty damn good. Yeah. Hajj Malik Williams is the quarterback at UNLV.
He's a fun player.
Took over for
Sluka, yeah.
Who didn't get his money he was promised in the portal and said, I'm out of here. Here is the quarterback at UNLV talking about Boise. Would you be offended by this?
I don't know what to expect as far as the crowd at Boise. I've never been there. I don't even know where it is on the map. But what I do know is communication is always a key to victory. If me and Jack aren't on the same page, we're going to have things that don't go right. So that's been vital, whether it's week 1 to week 12, 13. You know, that's the key to victory. So as long as we're all on the same page, I know we can execute at a high level.
And you think these players know what trends are happening with coaching?
Hey, geography's totally different. Totally different. Do you know where Boise is on a map? Yes or no?
Thankful I've been to Boise.
Could you point it out on this? If I gave you the state of Idaho, could you point out where it is?
Yeah.
General region?
Closer-ish to Oregon.
I feel like Southwest is my pocket that I'm looking at.
Oh, Southwest. I have it more kind of.
Isn't it close to the border?
West.
Boise?
Boise.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
close.
about 40
I had a
minutes
little
away
higher,
from
I think, in
Ontario,
my mind.
Oregon.
You go a little bit higher than
I
I'm
think
going?
so, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I could point out where Boise
You know,
is
like
on
a
a
pin the
map.
tail on the donkey, you got to pin where Boise
Yes.
is.
He's
Who
not
comes
even-
the closest?
He's not even just saying that he couldn't point it out. He sounds like he never even knew that Boise was like a town until, Boise State, I'm playing them. Okay,
Are we
what is
both
this?
right here? Because it's kind of south, but also it's sort of central.
It is.
It's an interesting place.
It's definitely west. I think
Definitely
we're right
west,
on the west part. I knew it was close to the border. I knew it was close to Spokane.
That drive sucks. by
It's
the way.
also a very tall, skinny state, so it's hard. Like, technically, it is the southern part of the state, but in the full version of the state, it's kind of central, if that makes sense.
I've taken both drives. I've taken the 84 drive to it, and when I was in Corvallis to go cover it as student media, Oregon State went there. I took the Bend back way to Boise.
How was that drive?
Both of them suck.
Horrible
I mean,
drive.
It's just 8 hours of.
Endless.
Eventually, it's like trees.
Desert.
Yeah.
Desert, trees.
Yeah,
desert.
everybody forgets Oregon is like 70% desert.
Yeah.
Duck fans
Not
know
a lot
this.
going on over there.
Duck players know this. They can be a nasty fan base.
They can.
Boise State?
Yeah. I encountered some stuff when I was walking around downtown, like not doing anything to anybody. Cars driving by, things were said.
Were you wearing Oregon State gear?
I just had like a jacket. It wasn't like a real flashy Oregon State jacket.
Yeah, just wearing a beaver
was-
jacket.
Yeah, it just had the OS on. It wasn't even like very obvious.
Not flamboyantly orange.
No, I'm not one of those people.
Well, that game's going on Friday, and the UNLV quarterback said, I don't even know where it is on a map, and Boise State they're not happy about this, so they're going to let him hear it. I can't wait. It's a fun game on Friday night.
Rose Bowl.
Michigan is probably the first team I think of. Yeah,
Michigan?
Probably the first one I go with.
Oh, okay.
If I'm going outside of like I think of
USC.
my team, obviously, in the games that I've been
Well,
to.
yeah.
So if I'm taking my team out of the equation, I think Michigan. Charles Woodson winning the 97 Rose Bowl
With the rose in his
is
mouth,
a memorable thing that my childhood
Yeah.
will never be able
Certainly
to forget.
understand that.
We got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. Good little Thursday night game. It is loaded. Don't go anywhere. Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Make the most of your holidays with the Fred Meyer app. You can enjoy over $600 in digital coupons every week. Get access to low prices.
WJJ HD2 Portland, an Odyssey sports station. Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, your Oregon Ducks had a massive signing day for the recruiting class of 2025, highlighted by 5-star receivers DeCorian Moore and Dallas Wilson, as well as 5-star defensive backs Trey McNutt, and flipping Naeem Offord, a 5-star back from Ohio State, to Oregon. Also flipped 4-star quarterback Jaron Kawe Sagapolutele, overall from Cal. The Ducks snagging the 4th best recruiting class in college football. On the college hardwood, the 12th ranked Oregon Ducks handling USC on the road 68-60, the final. Jackson Shellstead leading the way in a comeback effort with 24 points, 21 of those in the second half alone. Keyshawn Bartholomew adding 18 points off the bench, keeping Oregon undefeated at 9-0. On to the NFL. You've got Thursday night football action. It's a doozy kicking off Week 14 tonight in Detroit between the Lions and Packers. Green Bay, a 3-point underdog, kickoff at 5:15 on Amazon Prime. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Oregon.
James to his right, trips out to the left. Snap back to throw. Straight drop, looking left. Throws it. End zone. Caught! Touchdown, Oregon. There's Johnson. And he was looking for him all the way.
Penn State.
Aller to pass. Aller to Warren. And the record has been set.
This is a Big Ten Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
Dirt and Sprague on the Odyssey app and 1080.
You want to be playing your best ball at this moment.
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour, Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, live on YouTube. Schulte's in today.
That's my guy. What's up, guys?
Are you in next week?
I don't think so. As of this point, I don't see my name on the calendar.
We don't
but
know when he works.
I don't know. He's here and he's not.
There could be a new University of Portland Pilots game just added to the schedule, and we don't know. And hey, Schulte, you need to come in. Okay, all
Need
right.
you, Schulte.
Big Ten title game, and our producer midweek was like, all right, well, I'm out. Bye.
None of us saw the email, too. He sent us an email on Tuesday. By the way, I'm not going to be there tomorrow. Then he texted, did you guys see the email? We're like, oh, no, I missed that one. Sorry. I don't check my email very often. I should do that more often.
The problem with checking your email is what's the percentage of spam?
97% of it.
I mean, I get emails from companies I've never heard of, and I'm like, how did you get my email?
I mean, no offense to the University of Portland and Portland State, but I'm on all of their athletic emails, and it's like I
couldn't delete quicker.
I want to tell them, but then I feel bad being like, I don't care.
Honestly, I do that to all of them.
I've got
Even Oregon and
Portland
Oregon
State volleyball email updates with recaps of their games. Like, I love you. That's great. I'm not going to talk about
my
that.
personal email, my Yahoo account, which I refuse to give up because it's just my name, like no first last, no middle initial, no spaces or hyphens or anything. Had like 80,000 emails that I just refused to clear out in it, and my phone stopped adding those emails to my updated
You don't get
list.
new emails anymore?
So I can't even I have to
Maxed
go
out.
to Yahoo's website now to get my email. I can't even go through my phone's app anymore.
I think I have 37 on my personal Gmail, and I think I have, because I said of one of my promises in the new year, last year or this year.
Yeah, how many unread emails do you have on your work email right now? I'm at 2,078.
I'm at 2617.
I just haven't been here as long as you guys. I'm only at 350.
No, but this is one. These are my top 4 emails. Morning brief. I don't even know where this is from. Providence workers in Oregon are striking. Some person named Jasmine fall into flavor with subs and sweets. I don't even know who that is.
Jasmine spams the hell out of me, too.
Oregon State Athletics. Find the perfect present with 25% off.
Give us some money.
And New York Times, which I don't have a subscription to, ends tomorrow. Gift subscription sale. And I'm like, these are my emails.
This is it, man. This is what you
don't read them.
Mine is show prep from Swag 2 hours after the show started. So,
That helps a little bit.
I have an Olive Garden email.
I mean, the
on
Olive
my
Garden's
work email.
delightful.
They
You
brought
should.
back some really, really good favorites from back in the day.
I could go with it for an endless bowl of breadsticks right now. I'm not going to lie to you.
They brought back the steak gorgonzola Alfredo, so my
sounds
fat ass is headed
fantastic.
right back down there.
Really?
Dude, those unlimited breadsticks, dipping them in the unlimited sauce.
When's the last time you
those
went
it's been a minute, but
to
I would
Olive
go in a
Garden?
heartbeat.
Really?
Yeah. If you'd say, hey, Dirt, what are you doing after the show? You want to go get some Olive Garden? I'd say yes. Let's do it.
I used to work at the Olive Garden for like a month.
They're your family.
Yeah, they are really in Boston for the short time that I lived there. But there was like a concerted effort not to hand out breadsticks by our managers. They're
What?
like, no,
Oh,
seriously,
they
they're like,
screw you,
okay,
yeah.
guys,
You
okay, don't
sandbagging
overhand out the
SOB.
breadsticks. Yeah, it was bullshit.
That's
I'm just
the
like,
whole point. That's what I'm here for.
Oh, that's the corporate mandate.
It
That's-
is.
You go to an Olive Garden, and my family likes Olive Garden, so I've been there more recently than you.
Yeah.
You finish that basket.
exactly.
That second basket.
Give you one of these. Give you one of these.
Yeah,
Hey,
you got to
hey,
do one of those.
Hey, can I get some breadsticks over here?
And good luck on getting a third.
You're not happening.
They're gonna. Oh, I'll be right back, and then they never come back.
Bastards.
They know what the breadsticks are. They know it's crack cocaine for people, and they're gonna like not allow you to eat your way, out of that bill with breadsticks.
In defense of the UNLV quarterback, my comment in the last segment is getting ridiculed at the Vancouver Ford text line, which is where you can interact with us, 503-864-6326.
What comment?
I said that it's close. I said Boise's close to Spokane, and people are pointing out it's 8 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
is
up.
not.
Spokane's up.
Spokane's near the top in the panhandle, buddy.
It's by
I thought
Pullman.
they're right there, right on the border. I thought the Spokane people went over to.
But you said
the-
Boise
to
was
Moscow,
southwest.
Yeah, I did. I know.
And then you.
I don't know why I thought Spokane was. My geography's evidently
So
terrible
where's
too.
Pullman, Washington in your brain?
I thought Spokane and Pullman were close together.
They are. So where would Pullman, Washington be in your brain if Spokane's by Boise?
Southeast.
What?
Really?
Yeah, that
Okay.
was where my mind was going.
Interesting.
How far is Pullman to Boise?
I think it's like an hour drive.
What?
Or Pullman to Boise?
Pullman
Or
to
like
Boise.
7 hours.
Spokane and Boise, or Pullman and Spokane are close. Boise.
So
and
Spokane
is
and Pullman are not close together.
No, they are.
No, Spokane.
They're literally in the same region.
Yes, it's Boise that's not close to.
Who's
Pullman.
on first? Where is it? I don't know. Evidently, we're learning. We don't know anything about
Boise's down,
geography either.
Spokane is up.
I think I now have to root for UNLV because I'm just as dumb geographically. That word doesn't make sense as their quarterback. So there you go. I got a question about this weekend. I'm curious to ask you guys. Listeners can chime in on this too.
Okay.
I've been thinking about it.
You confuse me so much
I know.
that I'm second guessing what I'm saying. 'Cause
I'm
I'm
not
like,
going to look at a map of the state of
Is
Washington.
he making me? Am I making sense based on his reaction? And I feel like I don't.
Yes. I don't know why I thought they were super close together.
You
That was where
confuse
my
some
mind
towns.
always went. So Spokane and Pullman are both on the eastern region of the state, but they are
Yes.
not close together in the state. They're separated. Pullman's further south, Spokane's in the northern part.
Well, I'm also thinking of
They're in the same
Moscow.
side
Yeah,
of
they're
the
about
state.
45 minutes
same-
apart-ish. Hour
Is that
apart?
only 45 minutes?
Let me look. Okay.
Because if this is what I'm saying, I thought Pullman and
What is
Boise
this debate?
were close together. Are Pullman and Boise close together?
Pullman, Washington, down to
No.
No, they're not.
Not
Okay,
Pullman and Boise.
Not Pullman and Boise.
Yeah, thank
hour
you.
and 20.
Hour and 20-minute
Yeah.
drive. Okay. There you go. I think we settled that. Let's move on. Conference championship weekend is this weekend.
God, that was confusing.
I'm still confused. Is it more or less interesting for you this weekend with a 12-team playoff? So just by that, I mean you have two games this weekend, Big Ten and SEC, where we know no matter the result,
they're both in.
They're both in.
Yeah.
Now, there'll be good games, compelling games. Well, I'm going to watch them both. I'm excited to see how Georgia, Texas looks, and obviously what Oregon does in the Big Ten title game. We know that there's not a fall-off for the loser.
Mm-hmm.
The flip side of that is the ACC champ is in with a win. SMU might be in with a loss. Mountain West, obviously, in with a win. And Big 12 in with a win.
Mm-hmm.
Is it adding to your excitement for Conference Championship Week or taking away from it, considering the two biggest games of the weekend, the outcome does not matter in terms of playoffs?
Could I argue that it doesn't change it at
Doesn't
all?
change it
one
at
way or
all
the
for
other?
you. Okay.
Yeah, because, we know the Big 12's not strong. So, in years past, if it was a 4-team, they've had moments. It feels like they've had moments like this where it's like, is the Big 12 winner going to get in?
TCU lost the conference title game, and they stayed in the playoff a couple of years ago.
You're right. They lost to
But then
Kansas
last
State.
year you had Georgia lose to Bama, and they got bumped out when they lost to Bama.
Right.
And Oregon and Washington, the winner was going to go, the loser wasn't going to go.
The Mountain West one, I guess, is interesting if you have a Boise State, fandom, or you're interested to see UNLV randomly crash the party, pal. It doesn't really change it one way or the other for me.
Okay.
I keep going more so not like how it makes me feel with the playoff. I keep coming back to I think you want a 2-week bye, right? You want next week off, and then you get the first round off if you're one of the top 4 seeds.
Yes. Be longer than that, too, because then your game wouldn't be till New Year's Day. So you get those 2 weeks and then about a week and a half after that.
I'm also, thinking about the idea of how exciting it has to be to host a playoff game.
Yeah.
Indiana, Notre Dame could be a playoff game. Tennessee, Ohio State could be a playoff game. I don't know who wins those games.
Right now, you would have Alabama going to Notre Dame.
But imagine just being a fan of one of those teams hosting. And, I know most Oregon fans have polled, I think would vote for give us the 1 seed in the bye.
Yeah.
Because you want the rest. But also, the idea of hosting a playoff game
is pretty cool.
With, I don't know, whoever that is, fill in the blank, because Oregon probably isn't dropping below the 5 seed, right? So whoever the 12 ends up being, even if you think Oregon's going to win it, hosting a playoff game is exciting. That is one way the 4 seeds are getting screwed, too.
Yes.
They get the rest, which is great. They're getting kind of screwed because their first playoff game is a destination. And the Rose Bowl is certainly great, the Fiesta Bowl, wherever it is. But hosting is, out of this world. That feeling, that's as close to the NFL as you get with that. And that's where the top 4 get screwed, whereas the first round, yeah, they got to play extra game, but they get to host a playoff game.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest design flaws in my mind. They should have, and they might do this when they go to 16 teams, because I don't know how you do buys, because we know the playoffs going to keep expanding. It's a cash grab. They want more money, and they want more meaningful games. Here we are debating 10 through 14 this week. Ole Miss, South Carolina, Miami, Alabama. Who should get in? So they're going to eventually go to 16. One of the biggest things I hope when they do that is getting those quarterfinal games on home sites. Because I think you're punishing.
I just think you're gonna have too much money from the bowls to say that's gonna be allowed.
I think you can still go semifinals.
16, I think, for it to get.
That's what I'm saying. When you get to 16, then you have first round games and second round games at home sites, and then after that you can have. But it just, to me, it makes the regular season matter even more. Think about these SEC teams right now. If the playoffs started today and these were the rankings, Alabama would go on the road to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
What the weather is in the middle of December in South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe's got to go play, and I'll look at what the weather is this week just as an example.
I mean, it's going to be low 20s.
I mean, it's going to be freezing.
It's probably going to be a night game, too, because it's South Bend. So, how cool is that?
Right now, it's 24 degrees and snowing in South Bend, Indiana.
And it's 11 a.m. right now. So, if that game's a 5
That's
o'clock
awesome. That's
start,
a home field advantage thing that you play the regular season for that would end up making those games matter even more instead of just saying, all right, with an expanded field, we could lose 2 or 3 games, we'll get in, whatever. It's Ole Miss, you really want to go on the road to Notre Dame? You really want to go play at Penn State? You want to go play at Ohio State in January? Mm-hmm. Good luck with that. I think it makes the regular season matter even more, whereas you lose that incentive a little bit where, all right, it's nice to have the bye, but now we go down and play at a neutral site in Tucson or Tempe, Arizona.
Yeah, or you go to L.A. for the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, and it's it's 72 degrees at kick, and there's no cloud in the sky, and it's not even windy, whereas, if Oregon is to host, hey, it never rains at Autzen, except today at kickoff. It's going to be 40 degrees and pissing rain.
Yeah.
There are advantages certainly with that. Back to the dirty poll on this, because you're making me think.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something on your SMU comments yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
You have SMU making it if they lose the ACC title game, which you think they're going to.
I do. I'm incredibly naive, I know, but that's my naive stance.
You weren't naive last year. I was.
Yeah.
Why are you suddenly naive?
Well, I think with 12,
Especially
it's a little
when it
bit
comes to
different.
Alabama.
I think they're tiptoeing around not wanting conference commissioners to blow up conference title games. And I think they're going to be very cautious with that. The head coach of, it might have been SMU actually. I think it was Rhett Lashley, went on an On3 podcast the other day. And his comment about the game this weekend was, if my entire team got COVID right now, we'd be in the college football playoff. We couldn't play the game. Sorry, one of those kind of things. Remember when the whole team would get COVID? You don't play. Oh, sorry, we can't show up.
Skirting the rules kind of thing.
He's just basically saying, if my whole team got COVID, we had to finish the season 11-1. You wouldn't give us a loss. We just couldn't play in the game. We're locked into the playoff. And I think there's a very delicate approach right now where I get the arguments that people want to get rid of conference title games. I totally understand it. They're not going to. There's too much money involved. The networks are paying for it. Yeah. The ABC is getting Georgia versus Texas.
Right.
CBS is getting Penn State versus Oregon. Those games are going to get 10 million viewers.
Probably. Yeah.
Massive numbers this weekend for those leagues. They're not going to get rid of it because this is all about eyeballs. This doesn't apply to the ACC with Clemson because they're a 3-loss team and they're outside to begin with. It doesn't apply to the Mountain West because it's Boise and the record isn't great, or the strength of record isn't great, and UNLV's not in to begin with. And both ASU and Iowa State are already out of the playoff right now. They're only getting in because of the qualification. It's for the teams that are inside the top 12 if they lose. I think they want to be careful about punishing them for that.
And I'll be curious to hear, and I hope it doesn't happen, curious to hear the noise if a big-time player from any of these teams gets hurt in this game.
Yeah. While a handful of teams get to sit around and not play a game this weekend.
You know, if a Beck is to go down or something for Georgia, and it's like, well, we just lost our quarterback.
Great. And we didn't even need to play him because the only difference was we're either playing on December 21st or we're getting a bye. That's the only difference. We know we're in the playoff either way. So it's an interesting thing. Geography, conference championships.
By the way, Spokane to Pullman, I looked it up, an hour and 20 minutes.
Hour 20
I already
minutes? Okay.
said that.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Pay attention over there?
Did you hear the beginning of the segment? I don't
You know
who
what?
said what and how they said it.
I don't exist.
It was
It's
very
fine.
confusing. Dirt's Boise Pullman thing it threw me through a loop.
I just don't exist.
I think Schulte's right. Everybody's hating on the Ducks.
That's my guy. All I know is Moscow and Pullman are right next to each other.
Exactly.
That I know. That
Good
I
old
knew.
Kibbe Dome there in Moscow and the mall up at
That I knew.
little-
Fighting potatoes.
Somebody did text in, by the way, said it totally changes it for me. I wouldn't care about the ACC title game or the Big 12 championship game if we didn't have this playoff format.
Oh, see, I was always somebody that, I didn't always care about the result, but, I still watched conference championship games.
I would always watch them. A lot more on the line now for those. Instead of hey, here's your trip to the Fiesta Bowl to play, Now, we get a chance to host a playoff game or get a first-round bye. Pretty cool.
You see Yormark, I know we're against it. Yormark had some comments yesterday, too, highlighting Iowa State and Arizona State. 10 of their 12 games have been against Power 4 teams. And so his idea that you're going to screw my conference champion and give it to a Mountain West team.
To get the first-round bye, he's livid about it.
Whoa, if Boise takes care of their business and SMU takes care of their business, Arizona State, Iowa State's probably not jumping them.
Probably not.
And I'm
because UNLV's ranked. It would be a ranked win.
I'm with Yormark here. That's crazy ridiculous.
It is laughable that Boise State could get a first-round bye. Belong in the playoff. First-round bye, laughable. Hey, we got a great Thursday night football game tonight. NFC North battle. What do we think about it going in? We'll start diving into that coming up next on The Fan.
It's time for a sports injury report. The injuries and rehab that impact the success of sports teams. Brought to you by Rock Orthopedic.
Kevin Durant has been diagnosed with a left ankle sprain. He will be out about 1 to 2 weeks. It's going to be dependent on the rehab, the rest, the treatment that Durant is going to be on over the next period of days and weeks.
Shams talking about Kevin Durant, who is out for a bit. The Suns got off to a great start. Not as great as of late, but still 12-8 on the year.
Yeah, 12-8, not a bad spot to be after that start, even though they faltered a little bit. They've won 2 games in a row. Look, KD's going to be out. You expect that at this age, at this point of his career. Can they tread water while he's gone? Probably. He'll get back. They'll still be in the thick of this race.
Sports Injury Report presented by Rock Orthopedic, board-certified specialists who diagnose and treat the widest range of orthopedic cases with care and expertise. To schedule an appointment with Dr. John Cohen, visit rocpdx.com.
Check out the Fan Merch Locker.
Here's the situation.
With a new iconic long sleeve tee.
It's over, we think.
And a must-have hoodie in your and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back in. Coming up next, just kidding.
I mean, you're not very far off. By the way, poll question going up at Dirt and Sprague.
Yeah, what do we got?
If Boise State wins the Mountain West, who do you think should get the first round bye in the CFB playoff? Boise State or Arizona State or Iowa State?
Yeah, listener asking at the Vancouver Ford text line, well, wait a minute, aren't you arguing that you shouldn't be punished for losing a conference title game? Well, what about Boise State? Like, we can have that debate, but it will never apply to a group of 5.
They're not in a power 4.
No, you play Nevada and Wyoming and it just Colorado State. Like, that will never apply to you. Whether it's fair or not, we can debate that. That's fine, but the same, they will never allow 2 G5 teams into a 12-team playoff.
I hate to kind of railroad a segment, and I know we're already kind of against it, but to the Your Mark point, no way should a group of 5 champion get a CFB bye over a Big 12 winner, is what he said.
Yes.
There's an element of this stuff. You say, is this more intriguing conference championship week with this expanded playoff stuff? And I know sometimes I wouldn't blame any listener if they said, yeah, you guys debate some of this stuff too much. I certainly understand that thinking.
Yeah.
There's an element of this year that we're learning, and Stuart Mandel wrote a piece on this at The Athletic. It's a looming topic that we don't have time for. They have kind of also, they're making this basically, programs are going to learn to just have a joke of a schedule.
That's the danger.
Well, I mean, it already kind of was a thing in that sport, but now that 12 teams can get into this thing, and coaches are relying on getting into this from not being fired, why? There's just no incentive if strength of schedule is not calculated here. Not that you could come up with a consistent one.
Right.
But the committee is telling you this year, who cares how hard your schedule? Penn State could lose to Oregon, and their only decent win, not even that good to me, is Illinois.
Illinois is their only top 25.
Everybody else is like
500 or worse. Minnesota,
Yes.
I think, technically is 8-4.
Okay, they beat Row the Boat. Why? One, by the way.
Yes, a game that could have gone either way. They converted a 4th down. 7-5, by the way, Minnesota.
7-5. Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of with Brett Yormark here, and this is not I don't hate Boise State. I do when my team plays them, and Smurf turf is weird, but they've had a great year. They are deserving of being in. I like a group of 5 getting a shot. I do, even if they never win. Give them a shot. Otherwise, what's the point of existing?
Yeah, they need to have a seat at the table, and that will always be defended by me.
You cannot, in good conscience, argue there's a Power 4 and then Group of 5, and then give the Group of 5 over the Power 4 winner. That just does not. It's not logic-based to me.
This is where this goes back to the Indiana debate we were having, where
they barely beat Wyoming.
They barely beat Wyoming.
Is bad.
2 weeks ago. I mean, Oregon State's a bad football team this year.
They are not good,
and they were. Dogfight's not the right word, but that was
a little bit of it.
That was not a smooth win from start to finish over Oregon State. And Oregon State is not a team that's playing at a very high level late in the season. I know they beat the Cougs 2 weeks ago, but the Cougs have one of the worst defenses that I've ever seen.
We're 20 votes in, and I'm admittedly telling you, I'm surprised. Boise State's winning 66.7%.
Yeah. I had this with Furness last week because I was on his show and he was asking me format stuff, and he's a Coug guy, so I think he wants to stick it to the man, and that's his whole thing. And
Group of 5 Coug.
He said he loves that Boise State could get a first round bye, and I chuckle at it because I do think there is the fear that I've always had. I think what we wanted out of the 12-team playoff was that you can lose games and not be punished and your season's over. And I want more big competitive games. That's one of the biggest arguments to me of having this, where you had years where if you scheduled a tough game right out of the gate, Oregon had this 2 years ago in Dan Lanning's first year. Mm-hmm. His first game he ever coached was against who? Georgia. They then rattled off 9 straight wins after that, I believe, 9-1, and then they lost to the Huskies and they lost to the Beavs at the end of the year. If they had just scheduled Portland State in that game, they would have been undefeated, 9-0, number 1 team in the country, but they had to play Georgia in the opening week of the season, which would have been a loss for, yeah, you guessed it, 100% of college football. Nobody beat Georgia that year. They went undefeated. Mm-hmm. And these things are so imbalanced that I want more meaningful games, and I don't like when teams are punished for losing a close competitive. In this, this was the whole thing that I had with Indiana. Indiana's in now because the SEC shot themselves in the foot, so it's a moot debate. Their non-conference schedule was FIU, Western Illinois, and Charlotte.
Yeah.
That's horrible. They have one win over a team with check that. They have no wins
over a top 25.
Over a team with a winning record. Michigan,
Michigan's
take that back.
winning.
Michigan's 7-5.
Yeah.
They have one win over a team above 500.
Yeah, so no ranked wins.
No ranked wins.
Only
one
ranked opponent they lost
but
to.
they're
by-
11-1, and 11-1 is all that matters, and so they have to be in the college football playoff. It's a really complicated thing to try and figure out.
It's almost an impossibility because of how many teams are involved
Yes.
here of what we're talking about. I think the other part of that is we want more good games, and you certainly, I think, naively, we both kind of went in thinking this could generate these non-conference matchups, these monster tilts.
And it didn't.
Well, the problem
So far.
but the logic to it, the counter to it is this. What has the portal done to college football?
I think it's evened it out a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you can't have the usual juggernauts now run through their conferences guaranteed every year. Now it's like we might have a trip up in Norman. We might have a trip up in Minneapolis. We might have a trip up at Rutgers because, they have 6 guys that transferred to them because they didn't play, but they're former 4-star guys. And look at that. That program's better than we thought. Getting through your conference unscathed is it's almost an impossibility.
There's only
Oregon
one
did
team
it.
that did it in college football this year.
Right. And Penn State's record would
In a power conference.
Yes, but largely it becomes even more difficult. So if you do trip up in non-conference in a big game, yes, you can lose another game in the expanded playoff. But, Dirt, if you lose that non-conference game in week 2, boy, the wiggle. Miami lost 2 games this year.
Yeah.
The U is not going to make the playoff. You would have never convinced people our age or older that Miami would be 10-2 in an expanded playoff world, and they're not even going to get consideration.
Yes.
But they lost 2 times.
And it was late in the season. If they would have lost early in the year, they probably.
Because,
I don't know if the
that's
debate's
another
different.
qualification. When do you lose your games? Well, at the end of the year. Well,
Notre Dame
no
lost
good.
at home to Northern Illinois.
I know.
Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame on their own field this year.
And they didn't trip up the rest of the year. But the point is, you can trip up in non-conference at a big game. But, boy, the margins for not tripping up in conference now, and 2 games seems to be the threshold of debate, unless you're Alabama, and then it can be 3.
Yeah.
And so that's why you may not get those big non-conference tilts anymore. That margin in your own conference is so slim most years that the non-conference ability to lose, man, it feels like it's not a viable path.
This is why I chuckled when that report came out of the SEC and Big Ten thinking about a non-conference scheduling alliance. Like, no, you're not. The SEC, they're already complaining that their 3-loss teams can't get in, which
Ole
don't
Miss
lose to
and
Kentucky,
Lane
don't lose to
Train
Van.
and-
What? That's on you. Don't lose those games and you're in the playoff. They're not going to go. You think Ole Miss wants to add Ohio State to their schedule? They lose that game, and then some 11-1 Big 12 team who played nobody gets it. Boise State gets a first-round bye over them when they would be a 3-touchdown favorite.
Until they make their own playoff in 3
Exactly.
years.
Then they'll schedule whatever the hell they want. All right, now I promise we'll get to Thursday Night Football. I'm excited about the game, NFC North showdown. Will it be a repeat of what happened at Lambeau a couple of weeks ago? Lions limping it a little bit off of a close win over the Bears on Thanksgiving. We'll dive into that cut up next. First, here's Schulte with SportsCenter.
This is Big Ten Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Stanford's. This classic American steakhouse has exactly what you've been craving. Visit them in Clackamas, Tannis, or online at stanfords.com. First on the Fan, the Oregon Ducks had a very successful signing day for the recruiting class of 2025. They grabbed 5-star receivers Decorian Moore and Dallas Wilson, as well as 5-star defensive backs Trey McNutt and Naeem Offord. Offord was flipped from his commitment to Ohio State. They also flipped 4-star quarterback Jaron Sagapolu-Tele from Cal. Overall, Oregon snagging the 4th best recruiting class in college football. Over on the hardwood, Oregon busy as well there yesterday. They handled USC on the road, 68-60 the final. Jackson Shelstad, what a game. 21 points in the second half alone, 24 overall. Keyshawn Barthélemy adding 18 points and 4 threes off the bench. Oregon remaining undefeated at 9-0. And Week 14 of the NFL kicking off tonight with an NFC showdown on Thursday Night Football between the Lions and Packers in Detroit. Green Bay, a 3-point underdog right now. Kickoff at 5:15 on Amazon Prime. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Prep Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
Not often do we get an interesting and exciting Thursday night game. But on top of that,
I feel like we're actually on a little run.
Well, let me add to it. It's not a short week. They both played last Thursday.
Yeah, they got a full week off.
So usually there have been some exciting Thursday night games, but it's like, all right, they had 2 days to get ready for this game, and then one of them travel. Like, is the product going to be good? Who knows? They both were playing last Thanksgiving, so they had a full week to get ready for this game.
Yeah, I guess by definition, last Thursday kind of sucked, but at least the Lions, specifically, their game was the only good one.
Yes, yeah, that really was the only entertaining game, but it wasn't entertaining in the first half. They were up 16-0.
Like, we had Bengals-Ravens on November 7th.
Yeah, the week before that.
And then the one after that was that Eagles-Commies game. That was a big divisional game going into it. I know the Eagles kind of an 8-point game doesn't suggest it was dominant, but
they
it
handled
felt
them.
dominant.
They handled them.
Yeah.
This one feels big for Green Bay, does it not? The Lions, to me, are already a bit established in my mind. I think they're going to win the division. I think they're the best team in the NFC. Mm-hmm. And even if they get tripped up tonight, I'm not going to make too much about it. This is one of those where Green Bay has rattled off 3 in a row since they were dominated at home by Detroit. And you look at those 3 wins. They beat the Bears in Chicago with a blocked field goal at the last second, a game they could have lost. They then played, Brandon Allen and the San Francisco 49ers. And then they got Tua in cold weather, and Tua can't throw the ball in cold weather. And so there's a bit of
not till garbage time.
Need to see it here, right? The week before, the Lions blew them out in Lambeau. 10 points, but they dominated that game. They eked out a win against the lowly Jags. They eked out a win against the Texans, who haven't been great. It's a team that I feel like is looking for one of those wins, and tonight maybe is a game where if they win it in Detroit, you're like, all right, Packers can make some noise in the NFC playoffs.
Packers came in with mighty high expectations, kind of dealing with an Indiana problem. Like they can't control that their schedule has resulted in Houston's not been as good as we thought.
No.
San Francisco is a mash unit when they play them. Like
Jacksonville sucked this year.
Yeah, those aren't their fault, right? But they've handled it. They've taken care of things. This is huge. I think this is not just about playoff seeding, divisional stuff. This is psyche.
Yeah.
This Lions team, since they've come on with Dan Campbell and they just narrowly missed the playoffs, do you remember how they ended their season?
I do.
They celebrated as if they had won the NFC Championship game because they physically pushed a Aaron Rodgers Packer team out of the playoffs. If the Packers would have won that last game, they were going to be in that year. And they didn't come close. Detroit just handled them in Lambeau. And that was kind of the turning point. They then went to the NFC Championship game last year, and now they're steamrolling teams and the Vegas favorite this year. This is a psyche game. And here's the underrated part of this. Detroit's coming into this banged up.
Yeah.
They're missing some guys today. They're going to be out. They're going to be a little shorthanded. However, Green Bay, and as good as Jacobs has been as an addition, where Sprague was right. Aaron Jones is good. Jacobs was a great addition.
Yeah.
This is massive for Love because Love is having a good year. He's having an atrocious year on pressure. He is, quite literally in a lot of statistics, the worst quarterback against the blitz, and he's like second to third to last in some metrics against the blitz. If they get to him or you pressure him, he's awful, at least statistically this year. So is Detroit going to be able to put that pressure on him? They don't have a true one. Watson's come on here. Dobbs has had some big games. They have a lot of 2s and 3s at receiver. Reed's really good for them. But if Jacobs is going to be limited, we know this is going to come down to Love. Love is awful against pressure. So watching what Aaron Glenn does with that defense, Smith was a big pickup in their trade deadline pickups here. Mm-hmm. So don't overlook that part of this. This is a psyche game for Green Bay. It's not that Detroit can just lose and be okay with it. They want to win this game, but they're going to be shorthanded. But Love is so bad against pressure, and if Jacobs is bottled up, man, it's an opportunity for Jordan Love and Green Bay.
Well, and then on top of that, too, I mean, if Detroit wins this game tonight, the division's done. They're 12-1. Green Bay, I think, would fall to 9-4. They would have won both head-to-head games against them. The NFC North is over. Green Bay's will still go to the playoffs because the wild card race in the NFC is really murky. So even if you lose tonight, they're still likely a playoff team. Jordan Love, by the way, through 10 games so far this year. He missed 2 games, I believe.
2 games.
2 games earlier in the year. Through playing 10 games this year, he's already matched his interception total from last year.
Yeah.
Through 11 last year, he's thrown 11 this year. Some of the other numbers, like his average yard per target's a little bit up from where it was, but most of the other numbers for him across the board are down. I just think it's a reminder of how sometimes, like, we're kind of doing this with Bo right now. Bo's had an awesome rookie year, but it's also 1 year. Defenses are going to have film on you. They're going to adjust the way they're defending you. The roster around you changes. Expectations. It's just they have not had great years this year, and that was one of the things I came into the year arguing. Like, can we did this with Jalen Hurts a couple years ago. We had that first year he popped. Philly goes to the Super Bowl, and people were arguing he's better than Lamar Jackson. It's like, can we take a deep breath for a second and maybe see it for 2 to 3 years? Lamar's got multiple MVPs. Like, I get that he hasn't won a Super Bowl. There's not a lot of guys that have won a Super Bowl before.
Not in the Mahomes.
Take a deep breath. And that was the way I felt about Stroud and Love coming in. I think they're both franchise quarterbacks. I don't disagree with that, but this idea that they were immediately into the top 5 category because this metric or this stat or look what he does on third down here. Like, I don't know. Some of that stuff gets a little into the weeds for me. He's been fine this year. He has not been elite, I would argue, and this is a big game for him because the last time they played Detroit, I would argue they got dominated. They're down 17-3 at halftime. They made a little bit of a comeback to try and make the score respectable.
If you would have asked me point blank the final of that score, I would have said Lions won by 20. What did you say they won
24-14 was the final. They were up 17-3 at the half.
That's not how that game felt.
Green Bay couldn't do anything offensively, and then they put a couple of garbage time touchdowns up to put some lipstick on the pig a bit at the end of the game. But the whole narrative going in was cold weather. Detroit can't play outside. Jared Goff likes being in a dome.
Which is interesting because, again, they had just dominated them that last game
a couple of years ago. Yes.
I didn't understand the narrative with the Detroit team.
Neither did I, man. But I'm excited for it. Will I be spragging the line on this game? Now, it'll give you a good fade fodder here because I'm horrible this year.
Are you confident in where you're going to go?
I'm going to be confident the rest of the year. I got nothing to lose. I'm in last place.
I don't know how you don't pick the line.
I'm 10 games below 500. I'm shooting from the hip. Okay? We got nothing to lose, buddy.
If you're 10 games below 500 in gambling, are you shooting at all?
Yes, you are. Blanks, but you're shooting. Will I gamble on this game? And story time with somebody to close out the show next on The Fan.
Ready to bring your dream home to life? At Smartline Home Design, we offer 3D home plans that let you visualize every detail. Custom plans can fit any budget, cut out the nonsense, and get it done right the first time. Smartline Home Design, bringing your home vision to life with a game plan for success.
It's time for To the House, the scoring plays that make football special. Brought to you by Smartline Home Design. Online at smartlinehomedesign.com.
Obviously, having a legacy, come join us here. Keely Smith's son, KJ, tremendous talent. Has done a great job this season. Has won a lot of games and had a ton of success, and we're excited what he will bring here. And then also somebody that he competed with in the Elite 11, and Jaron, who's broke high school records there with Dylan in Hawaii.
That is Dan Lanning. You know what he took to the house? He took his recruiting class to the house. Highest average ranking per commit. And top 5 basically in every outlet you look at.
Top 4 on 24/7. 2 quarterbacks, 2 young quarterbacks potentially for the future. The beauty of Dan Lanning, though, one of these guys could pop. None of these guys will pop. They'll just go get the best experienced guy in the portal. So he's winning no matter what.
He's taking it to the house, and it's brought to you by Smartline Home Design. Their meticulous attention to detail translates into streamlined construction processes, saving valuable time and resources for their home, building, or construction partners, bringing your vision to life with a game plan for success. Find them online at smartlinehomedesign.com.
You hear that?
with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
Yeah, screw it. We're doing it. Sprague in the line, pick number 1.
That's my guy.
We're going with Man Campbell. Give me the Lions -3 tonight. Lock it in.
Okay.
There's no turds here. Because we'll tread water as long as
I'm
it
generally
takes to
rooting for
bury
you at this point. I don't want
16 and 26 on the year. We're lost. We're lost in the wilderness.
Lions are a good team to just pick.
That's what I'm feeling like. If I'm going to bet on somebody, might as well be Detroit, right?
Swag rode that train for like 3 straight
He
weeks,
did.
and then they just didn't play perfect against Chicago. Otherwise, we probably would have had that too.
God, I had a parlay on Thanksgiving. I parlayed the Cowboys and the Lions together. At halftime, I thought, this is a lock.
Money line or?
No. The points spread.
The Cowboys covered their number.
They did, but,
I thought about that game too.
I want to have some fun story time, and then we'll send you on your way here on a Thursday.
You teased us as if Joey Harrington was coming on our show.
Joey Harrington is on. Hello, Joey. Good morning to you. How? Oh, no, just kidding. No, it's not. I saw this from our good friend Casey Holdall.
Okay, C. Hold.
C. Hold. Love me some C. Hold.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Blazers play tonight, but
Rip City Report forever.
This is on
Blazer
the
balcony.
Games with Names podcast.
Briefcase.
No,
Games with Names.
This is he doesn't do the podcast. I saw it because he retweeted the Games with Names podcast.
Gotcha, okay.
It's whatever the Julian Edelman podcast is. They had Danny DeVito on.
Oh, you're going to share this audio?
I am going to share this audio.
I saw this yesterday, and I thought this was delightful. I just didn't know where to wiggle this one in on the show.
Figure right out.
I got Portland and Danny DeVito.
Portland and Danny DeVito is a combination, and weed that just kind of goes hand, and the Blazers goes hand in hand.
Before, I don't know, were you going to preface why he was here?
I think he says it in the clip.
Well, just in case, it's from one
Flew of the Cuckoo's Nest that they
with
filmed
Jack.
in Salem in 1975?
6 or 5,
Somewhere there?
7,
Yep.
somewhere around there.
Back in the glory days when we were good. Here is Danny DeVito about his time in Portland and with Jack Nicholson and what they did.
What was it like sitting courtside with Jack Nicholson?
Oh, Jack Nicholson. Okay, so we did Cuckoo's Nest in 74. We were up in Salem, Oregon. The Trailblazers were playing. He's got a car, and, there's always a doobie. We're in the car. What are you going to do? Okay, we get there. He's a major star at this time. I don't think I've ever been to a basketball game like that. And he said, come on, D, we're going to have a great time. You want anything, D? I said, I'll have a Coke. And she gives me a Coke, half the size of myself. And we're all standing out there ready for the ball to be tipped. Just as the guy's tipping the ball, I kick my Coke over. And the Coke goes like this. Poof.
Tsunami of Coke.
A tsunami of Coca-Cola. Whistles blowing, shit going on. People running with towels. Every team looking at me like, you motherfucker. They wipe it up. They're all ready to go. He looks at me and he goes, you want another Coke, D?
Story time with Danny DeVito, man. Smoking a doobie in the car. Let's go to a Blazer game. Jack, what do you think, man?
He has so many movies and moments that you could ask him about.
God, getting him for like an hour to sit down and talk to him would be great.
Talk about the movie Twins with Arnold.
Yes.
Jersey Mike commercials. Being the Penguin in Batman.
Yes. Was a Penguin. Well, excited for Thursday Night Football tonight. Anything else going on the docket? Anything else we're excited about? I didn't realize the Ducks were playing last night until the game was in the first half.
Oh, really?
Yeah, kind of dawned on me late. Blazers don't play tonight, so you don't have that to look forward to.
I'm probably going to follow a little bit of the CEO healthcare guy story. It's pretty wild.
You going to go dive into that one?
I don't know if I'll dive into it, but I want to see the follow-up. They think they have the guy's face.
Oh, they got the guy's face that did it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to see if the Beavs play tonight.
I'm interested to see if that guy's like a professional hitman on the black market.
He looked like it, didn't he?
It did. It really, the way that it was set up and apparently what he used, it was a very sophisticated hit. So.
Yeah. No Beavs game, by the way, tonight. Pilots play Kent State, though, tomorrow.
Yeah, Beavs have been off for a while, actually.
I feel like the Beavs haven't played a game in a month.
November 30th, I think, was their last game.
God, play a game.
Boy, that is a long time to be off.
It is in college hoops. All right, that'll do it for us, folks. Thanks so much for being a part of our Thursday. Enjoy the game tonight. Tomorrow's Football Friday, man. Final thoughts, conference
Big Ten
championship
title game
week.
previews, conference championship game previews, a little NFL, Sprague and Line.
Ooh, buddy. Will I be 1-0? I'm going to be 1-0. Lions are going to crush the Packers tonight. Not a doubt in my mind, baby. Roar, boys. Stand up with me. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Calling us next. Listen to 1080 The Fan.
This is Ryan Horvath, here to help you beat the books with BetQL. We hit the college hardwood tonight with a mid-major monster in the Drake Bulldogs. They go on the road to take on Valpo, and they're laying a pretty large number, but not large enough. The BetQL model right now projects the Bulldogs to win by more than 2 points than the line, making it one of the model's best bets for the evening. Don't forget to bet smarter and beat the books with BetQL and download the BetMGM